Oh, but I understand when people don't like change. Like, I get that part of it, and I have, man, we've been so fortunate jumping from lily pad to lily pad, Stugotz. Like, when newspapers were dying, I was able to get out of that. Radio, television, changing, podcast stream. Like, we've been very fortunate. It seems a lot smarter than it is, but we've been able to get into the future jumping from lily pad to lily pad. And this last year has been, I don't know about you guys. I mean, obviously America felt some of this in a pandemic, but this last year has been the hardest of my professional life. Like, indisputably, like walking around on my hands and knees, Mike making fun of me for gaining weight yesterday. Cause I've had too much to drink during the pandemic because I am like, under duress, Stugotz. I'm not a CEO. I'm not a conqueror. I don't want to do any of that stuff. I just want to come in here and laugh with you guys. And I've gotten in the way of that laughter in the last year because I am so fucking stressed. Like, how could I not be?
So we're keeping the Caroline part, right?
That's what was happening, though. I was breaking up.
Are we? Just to be clear.
That's fine. That's what was happening. Like that was happening in my life. It wasn't
the new studio. It was really a Caroline.
What was happening, the real of what was happening when people thought Stugotz and I were going to break up, and I never felt like we were. Like,
I felt like you guys were. You even brought on a marriage counselor to do it, and the counselor kind of cut to it, thankfully.
Yeah.
That we all knew that there was something else going on, but we just were too nervous to address it. Like, this new studio change and all that's very real. But you were going through a very difficult breakup, and that was just, it manifested on our fusion set.
I was, I'm embarrassed by what happened there. Like, I don't know that I tested our group's loyalty more than I did at that time. But you guys do realize that I did not know, right? That I did not know that my life was at sort of a crisis point at home, and that I was bringing it home to work. I didn't realize that until years later. Oh, I had no idea I was doing that while I was in it. That's something that I had to do huge amounts of therapy to have the awareness to be able to look back and be like, oh my God, look at that. I was unfair to Stugotz, and he withstood a beating because I self-aware guy, alleged self-aware guy, did not know that I was bringing unhappiness in here from away from here.
Group hug?
Well, but you guys tell me
it
what
feels like that moment.
Number one, thank you for doing that work, because we kind of knew it.
Therapy work.
Yeah.
How about the work I did, just standing there taking his punches?
No, thank you for doing the work. Look, we all kind of knew what was going on.
Ken, in this segment of raw vulnerability, in which I tell the audience what a shit I am, please feel free to also take this from me, Stugotz, with jazz hands.
I was there for you, Dad.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were.
Tried to help you through it by just standing there.
But you guys do understand, though, right? You guys do, because your lives have changed.
We had our own therapy sessions on the cell phone driving home.
Yes, we did. Me and Mike had many. I mean, Mike would take me all the way home on many, many afternoons.
Okay, all right, but if we're going to talk about this,
I would give him time and temp.
Well, then if we're going to talk about this for real, and let the audience in on all of it, let's do that. The reason that we made the moves that we made, the reason that we did, is because Mike Ryan and Stugotz both wanted to go 10 a.m. national, replace Colin Cowherd, the signature market, signature ESPN thing, and I didn't want to do it. And Mike at the time did not have a baby, but was imagining a future life that had balance in it, that allowed him to work at home and have a life that was balanced, that had good work in it, that was fun, but that was balanced. It was not us here at the Clevelander with, women on stilts and body paint at 8 p.m. because we're doing an afternoon show. I didn't want to leave.
Now, I had 2 kids already, and I remember telling Mike on one of those long talks on a drive home on like a Tuesday afternoon, like, hey, afternoons, having them free would be great because I'm never there when my kids get home from school. And you might want to think about that moving forward. So that's part of the reason that Mike and I were pushing.
So everything that happened for us after that, right, was me sort of reluctantly dragged toward it because I was good afternoons, Miami. Like, I was going to ride it out as Hank Goldberg. Like, I would have been good being the local guy in the local market, doing that show. Like obviously not seeing the death of radio and all the stuff that was coming, but
Dan was really like, you were good with that. Like I remember right up until the day we signed our contracts at ESPN, you had sent me a text saying sometimes your own little thing in your own little city is a great thing. You were good with that. Like you would have done that. We'd still be doing it.
No, that was my destination.
Would we?
I don't know.
Local radio landscape changed. We were giving them an hour for free, and they were still like, nah, no thanks.
Well, so let's take people through that as they've seen the evolution of the local hour change. And this has been just such a cool week. I don't know how to explain this part to the audience, Stugotz. I know you felt it too. I'm guessing we've annoyed the hell out of you with all this you talk, jumping on Mike's back and being happy for him and sort of hitting him on the back because we know how much he cares about this thing, and this thing being the Miami program, but also Miami and also this local hour and also this show and all of that stuff. And so within that, while ESPN was demanding to take that local hour that is the most precious thing I've ever believed in anywhere in this market, yes, more than the Miami Herald, more than PTI, more than anything, that local hour mattered to me. They didn't want me doing it anymore because they wanted me to concentrate on the national show. And I'm like, no, man, Miami. And they're like, that's the final. You know that over time, they made me make certain trades, reluctantly going national, because I was working at the Miami Herald and PTI, an afternoon show, and that was enough. It was a destination. I didn't need anything else. Just leave me in Miami. And ESPN and Skipper come calling, and they're like, how about a studio you could walk to? Your dad works with you.
No, I'm seeing it right now. This feels like the day after freedom. Let's just keep our eye on the ball and fast forward.
Yes,
please.
Yes. I don't want to hear a word
again.
about peppers.
I'm having
Not
flashbacks
again.
over here.
I don't want to hear a word about
don't make
walking
a
to the
pepper
studios.
God. Just keep it here. Fast forward.
Eyes on the prize.
But this is what's important for the audience and you guys to know. Like that was a short circuiting. What happened to me after freedom was a short circuiting. All that stuff we did was hard, like trying to build a business with my family. The family that we've been through all the shit with after Chris gets let go, and tolerating goddamn Cody every Tuesday as he gets worse and worse every Tuesday, and it's funnier and funnier than it's ever
like
been.
A gratuitous shot.
Not necessary.
No,
He's going to be
totally
upset.
Unnecessary.
My point is, and thank you for stopping me there, as I have not stopped you all week on the University of Miami, even though I should have.
Well, I mean, we don't have to paint every bit of analysis with the bad boys of the 90s either. So keep it moving.
We do that. We do that a lot.
lot.
Maybe we'll do that some with Billy Corbin tomorrow.
Oh, I think we will.
I hope so. Because at this point, I want to actively just take the local hour and do nothing but the U is back right up until next season. Like, just knock everything out. Heat playoff games, can't get in it. Like
I want to talk Caleb Martin so much.
The Dolphins winning the Super Bowl can't get into the.
Tua's got it cooking. Caleb Martin's got it cooking. That was a culture win last night.
Oh, Mike.
The Caleb Martin game. You know that
it was coming.
There are factions of the Bucs fan base that will remember forever the Caleb Martin game.
He was great.
He had 28 points last night. I couldn't high flying points. And
how does this team do it?
6 of 8 from 3, Caleb.
How is there always a Caleb Martin? They're really good at development. Super good.
I mean, Max Strus is not someone I would pick up for in a pickup game if we just are standing around and you guys are just telling me, hey, do this based on appearances.
How tall is Max Strus? He's 6'5". I'm picking him.
He's not 6'5".
Okay, but you're picking him to play in the post in your game, correct?
If it's all of us and there's 6'5" Max Strus, I'm going Max Strus and then Tende Tony.
But you're taking Max Strus to play.
And then Roy. For
I might go Tende Tony before I go Max Strus. And I think
you want fouls, buddy.
Yeah, hard fouls.
Those were the obvious reasons.
You guys aren't playing Max Strus in the post if he comes out to play with us. Like, you're not going to have him on the perimeter.
But one trip down, trip down the court, coach brings it in. Everything goes through this guy.
I feel we'd play him as if he were Greg Ostertag. I feel like we just keep throwing the ball to him and never discover his outside game.
To his credit, he'd probably be super effective at that against us.
This is what you can't do with the Heat, though, Mike, because the season started with the Miami Heat starting 6-1, And we were talking about they look like the best team in basketball, moving the ball around, number one in defense. 7-game sample size means everything. Then Jimmy Butler gets hurt and Bam gets hurt, and you realize, oh, wait, yes, again, this is a team that's a little bit older with Lowry and Jimmy Butler, and health is going to be like the only thing that matters. Can they get to the playoffs in a healthy state that has some rhythms to it? But the first half of the season, Mike, they're going to go through turbulence because they play more road games before the All-Star break than any team but one in the league. So they're going to have a lot of that up and down where they go on the West Coast with a couple of guys hurt and they come back, whatever, 2-4, or they go on this recent trip that they want, or not even the recent trip, Mike. The 2 home games they just had, Cleveland's pretty good. They got smoked at home. They had nothing at home once you take Bam and Jimmy out of the lineup.
Yeah, and Lowry's been beat up. With this team, my whole thought process on the NBA playoffs has kind of changed, especially given the current landscape of the Eastern Conference. My whole attitude is just get in the tournament. Just get in. You're just be healthy. You're gonna have to beat these guys on your way to Larry anyways, right? So
see, wait a minute. This is a real change of tone from you, Mike.
I don't fear
on your way to Larry.
Just bring it.
No, but this is
culture.
Seedings,
I'm not like, okay, we'll play the Bucks. Fine. Let's go.
Mike,
like, let's get this over with.
Mike, this is why people hate South Florida and South Florida fans, right?
Well, I'm telling you, I'm honest to God. Like, I'm not here angling to match up with the Cavs. Just fucking bring it, you know?
Yeah.
Give me your Bucks, give me your Nets, give me them in succession, and give me the hardest team out west. Give me the Warriors. I don't care. That's what it's gonna have to take. That's what Heat culture is.
You have a show in there somewhere?
Well, I want to push
Mike's
him.
had a good week though. He's feeling confident. Let him go.
I want to push him off that, but I do want to continue to reveal to the
succession has another meaning, Chris.
Did you not know that, Chris?
I'll be the idiot. I was making a joke.
Chris, you were a star yesterday on Sheets and Giggles. You were a star.
It was great.
They seem to be enjoying it.
You don't say.
Well, this is how the comedy kamikaze made an appearance at the roast. Like, he really gets the show, understands the show, believes in the show. He's a CEO, and he took over the roast. Which, incidentally, fans of our show, Jason Jackson told me that this week. There's going to be like a streaming, all the money going to McGill's Foundation. If you want to see what that roast was and just how much Sheets and Giggles.
The guy's set is still going, actually.
Sheets and Giggles CEO stole. Like, by the time we got out there, we were drunk, surly, and eventually I just was
always roasting,
washed off the stage. But you developed a real find of an advertising campaign by just not being able to read. The Stugotz School of Broadcasting. You are now a commercial spokesman for Sheets and Giggles, which had a banner day yesterday because our listeners were like, well, that was funny. Let me buy some sheets.
Brought tears to my eyes and a tear to my eye. Yes.
And crocodile tears. Thank you, Roy.
You're welcome.
And within that, the thing I wanted to talk about that made it sound like freedom about the last year, Mike, when you talk about the Heat and the University of Miami, represent the voice and face of everything that America wants to kick in the teeth. And you, as a Heat homer and Browns guy too.
Compliment,
Mike. Throw in the Ice Cats.
Well, your fandom is a razor's edge of, man, that's really hard to like.
Also, Browns guy racist.
If I'm on the other side, it's really hard to like. And this week, especially at the roots of the local hour, where Mike Ryan and Stugotz and I, and really everyone here, I mean, Roy would just come to our remotes a million years ago. Like, everyone who's on this show just started gathering around like, what is that thing? Juju, all of them. I don't want to do the whole thing. But, Mike, my point is that local hour this week was—
You're starting to have a governor for it.
Listen to me. I don't want to have I do want to have a governor for it. But the last year has been a fucking short-circuiting. Like, and you guys understand it. I don't mean to make my situation any worse than anybody else's. We've been under it. The audience doesn't understand how hard the last year has been for all of us.
I still don't know what we're doing. I mean, I don't. I mean,
Stugotz comes in here every day, starts spinning around in a turnstile, and then just gets ejected, spit out, farted out by the exhaust of nobody makes this much shit in one day for you. There's not anybody doing that. Spending 3 and 4 hours inside your head every day.
We did it all for you fans.
Yes.
We love you.
Look at Mike.
But
He
did
sounds
what?
broken.
I don't know what we did. I don't know what we're
What- the
doing. I
reason why
don't know
my
where
voice
it's
did
headed.
that.
My
The reason why
point-
my voice did that, by the way, is I'm on medication because of my anxiety, because I sweat through my armpits and it dries me out. And so my voice was cracking because of what this job has done to me.
Let me see how you looking right now.
I'm good. I'm sure.
Yeah,
and this
yeah.
is a bad shirt to wear when you're sweating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure.
Yesterday, man,
You're
it
not
was
unsure.
really coming through. You noticed that, right?
Yeah, man, I
okay.
don't. Yeah, and then it just
I didn't
gets
wanna say
worse because I
anything, I
start
mean.
sweating more.
But so
I
Mike,
didn't want to say anything.
so
I didn't. I mean,
this week though, Mike,
a couple of ponds.
let's not
I
make it.
appreciate you not saying it.
Let's not make it about my epic meltdown after
I've
freedom
gotten fat too, Dan.
and what's happened in the last year. Do it through your prism, Mike, because you as the guy, right? Because I think one of the things that's not getting, well, whatever, maybe it's not something that you should care about, but man, my family jumped with me without a question. These dudes, no matter what we've been through in 20 years, there wasn't a question. Everybody's like, all right, we got to do this. We got to do this because Chris, because you
My
can't.
options were limited.
Yes, you were. your experiment as my
You
as
were-
my
you were-
assistant
Actually, I had
did
some
not
people
work.
reach. I had like a 12-hour free agency, and it was looking good.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you were the goldfish in Jerry Maguire.
Tell us about some of the prospects that were out there for you.
The big fat goldfish. The big fat. But Mike, the last year's been hard for you and Stugotz. Stugotz is buried.
Last
his mom.
year, no, the last couple of years in particular. Yeah,
It's been
A
more than a
decade,
year.
I
Everyone
mean,
does
yeah.
this thing with the pandemic where it's been a year. It's been a lot. It's
No, it's
been
been a lot.
multiple years.
it's been a lot. The worst of it was when we were at ESPN prior to like any of that stuff going sideways. But, we're here.
Mhm.
We're here. A lot of that stuff was the seeds were planted when you broke up with Caroline.
You want to go back to my intimacies, not yours.
Yeah, that's precisely what I'm doing. I'm deflecting.
Oh my God!
What
Like,
the
and
fuck you
went to
think
the-
this is?
and-
Therapy? I'm good.
And you went right.
I'm
to
working
the,
on me.
You went to the right. You went right to the most personal place. You threw
Yeah.
the dead fish right on my lap.
Mhm.
Of like, here, go and by name.
Yeah, back to your trauma.
Yeah.
Well, I thought you didn't want too much of my trauma. I thought that's what birthed freedom and annoyed everybody
I mean,
around
I did
here.
it, but then you threw it to my trauma, and I was like, no way.
Does that weigh on you at all that you've driven both me and Mike to therapy? I mean, just.
Well, and you guys have sent me there too.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Everyone
really?
should be in
Wait a minute,
therapy.
you think
My
you're-
fault now.
You
huh?
think you're an innocent in this? You think that being married to you is easy?
Talk about deflecting.
I mean, I had nothing to do with this, man.
You're thinking.
You should label this hour. It's another one of those episodes. Yes. Another one of those self-involved episodes.
I love these conversations.
Yeah,
We need to have them every now and then.
yeah,
We
it's
do.
good.
Yeah.
So Caleb Martin, how did we get him on a two-way contract?
It's amazing.
What you can't do, my point on you being obnoxious, razor's edge sports fan that is just anyone listening to this is going to hate you. And the reason they're going to hate you is because of your
Do I need to go to therapy again?
your,
God damn.
your brown.
Anyone listening to this is going to hate you.
You've done some of this to yourself, Mike.
There
okay?
are three, but there are three spaces where
enough.
they're going to hate Mike from. All other hate is going to be birthed from these hates. How he talks
Please
about
outline for the audience where specifically they can hate me.
how he talks about the Browns, how he talks about the Heat, and
So
how
sports.
and how he talks about how the show gets hijacked when he does it, how his fandom and his narcissism become something that, while I think is interesting and would make me listen to 6 podcasts about what's happening at spring camp for the Miami Hurricanes.
Call it Green Tree.
I don't want to downplay what happened to Mike this
Well,
week.
but this not only downplaying
Because we were
okay.
super proud of him,
Well,
and
but-
Mike did poured a lot of work into that.
My
Yeah.
point on what happened this week was through the roots of freedom and a vulnerability that Mike doesn't want you to get near. I too was proud of the symbolism of Mike caring about the local program and doing something about it this week.
When you threw it to me, I just started picking up a pen about to jab you in the eye and say Caroline. Caroline.
It had to feel good for you. I don't know that you've had a moment to actually enjoy it. And Lord knows the last year has felt like this. Us sprinting from place to place every day without a lot of ability to just enjoy for a second. We're building something together.
No, I appreciate it. You've sent me some nice texts, and when it really hit me was when Mario Cristobal held up that way too tiny jersey. I'm not really sure what the plan was.
What was
there.
going on with that jersey?
Was that an infant? Was that for Rocco? What was the plan there? Who was in charge of this? So as you can see, we still got some work to do on the infrastructure administrative side. But when it became a reality, and I was like, I kind of manifested this to a degree. That was kind of cool.
Okay, that's all the drip of emotion you're giving us over the last 2 yees. You wanted.
When I realized it was all because of me, then it hit me.
I mean,
he was in the middle.
Your words, not mine. I'll give you the whole story.
What I believe about Meadowlark Media and this little dumpy closet that we live in here and make this from for the last 10 years, a closet that is very far from Stugotz's house and isn't convenient to anybody, but ESPN wanted water behind us. And so that's why it's here. ESPN wanted to show when ESPN was in its global expansion, Los Angeles, New York, Miami, they wanted the vision of every day on television. It wasn't even about me or anything about.
I can hear your shower from here.
Yeah. I mean, I have a pond in my backyard and a pool.
Okay, so they put it on the water so that in the afternoon it could look like it was on the ocean paradise that we now use to send Whitty to the ocean in his jeans. But it wasn't but like 6 or 8 weeks ago, Stugotz, that I walked into another closet in this studio where I was sitting with Billy Corbin, who like really helped refuel with his movies the love of this program that America got to like look back at a time in the 90s that Mike doesn't want me to talk about anymore because it's a million years ago.
Right.
And Mike walks into the room and yells at Billy Corbin. And he's like, you're just a critic of the U. You don't do anything. You don't do anything. You're just a critic. All you say is the U is back. And Billy Corbin braying laughter in his face. Braying laughter. The guy who's more responsible for the recruits that Miami's gotten in the last 20 years than anyone. Billy Corbin with those movies.
Well, some bad recruits.
Yeah,
I mean.
terrible. But had some blue chippers there.
No wonder we've sucked.
And he's sitting there and he's laughing in Mike's face. The administration doesn't care. They don't care the way you want them to. You're shouting at nothing. And then we start talking about, are we going to rabble rouse? Are we going to saber rattle? Are we going to go to campus and shake things and throw cans at the library and make some sort of scene over there? And somewhere from within that, somewhere it got to Julio Frank that Kirk Herbstreit had said something terrible. Something terrible. Miami administration doesn't care about its program. And from there, you saw, when I said to the audience a year ago, you're going to go on, we're going to try and show you the insides of whatever this feels like that's what we've been doing for the last year. To the degree that you guys celebrate the holidays being nostalgic and stuff, I would say from within that, and as me and Mike start talking about our narcissisms, Stugotz buried his mother in the middle of that. We went right back to joking. We've been in here the next day, every day, pandemic or not, and whether ESPN is sending us microphones or not. Like every day, the next day, we've been here, and Stugotz had to do it after burying his mother, like right after burying his mother, with no time to grieve it.
In an odd way, it helped, and I still haven't grieved it correctly yet. I'll get to it when you give me a couple of days off, but. We'll get there, Dan. But doing the show right after that, actually, and having some laughs at my poor mom's expense, it helped me through it, to be honest. And seeing you guys every day, believe it or not, helped me through it. So, thank you.
Well,
it's been a difficult year. I still don't know what we're doing. Eventually, I'm going to have questions. I mean,
yes.
The question is, can I have a raise?
Yes.
No.
I mean, that's one of the questions.
It's
one of the
first
questions. The Miami
Live
Heat,
spot
though,
money.
you annoy people, Mike, because your tone and change has really very much gone. Like anyone, it's not quite Colin Cowherd saying one thing and then 3 weeks later saying the opposite, and it's now all on video and they could sort of splice it together to show you. But within this segment, Mike, or within this month, excuse me, you've gone from 6-1 Miami Heat, best team in the league. They can beat anybody, We did a whole show on a 7-game sample size, too. They've lost a whole bunch of games since then because they've been hurt. And your last commentary on this was, bring me the big boys in the playoffs. I'll slay them one by one, ignoring that they've been totally mediocre since we were saying they look like the best team in the league.
Because of injuries. So I think my general point sans, I think they're one of the best teams in the league when fully healthy. So I don't care who we play. I also think, like, to my tone change, I understand you hold in, like, the Browns homerism and the Hurricanes homerism against me. I kind of think I've been different over the last 2 years. I really do. I've learned very difficult lessons from my teams letting me down and from audience feedback. So I'm not that guy anymore, pal. Not. I got confidence in my teams. It's sports. If my teams lose, I'll be embarrassed. I'll probably internalize it, and I'll probably bring it up in therapy. But I like my sports teams. Okay, right. I'm sorry. I'm a fan. Sue me.
You hit him with a pal?
Yeah, no, it's just my attitude's kind of changed about it. I'm not out here saying Malik Rozier is a borderline Heisman candidate anymore.
You've been you still
the Canes have come up in therapy. I mean,
Blake James has.
You've been a lunatic.
Yeah, no, I was manic on the air. I think the audience here heard that.
And you think you understand then why the audience?
I had manic episodes on the air. Dude. Everyone knows this.
Episodes.
Yeah.
Episodes.
Morning, Jess.
If you don't think I spent at least a full session with my therapist talking about Brian Kelly, you don't know me at all.
Wow.
We like sports over here. For as much shit as we get about not caring about, some of us really care about sports.
Feels like a waste of my therapist's time, though, to bring up my time.
It's my time.
But to bring up the Jets and Zach Wilson.
No. It's your hours, Stugotz. You can do in it whatever you want.
I just talk about Dan.
If I want to spend 40 minutes.
Talk about that too with mine.
If I want
already?
Me too.
Yeah. All comes up. I also have father issues.
Put it on the poll at LeBatard Show, Chris.
Mom died, I mean.
Mine did too.
Have your sports teams ever come up in therapy?
On Thanksgiving.
How does it make you feel?
I'm kind of cool with it. Every time I go to a new therapist, it's like, whoa, this is a good one. And I'm just like, I'm not going to give you that. Here's 40 minutes on Spurgeon win.
You start off with the Thanksgiving, and then it's off the Spurgeon.
You know what's funny about that?
I just gloss over it.
I've only my
mom had a drug dependency, and she died when I was 15. But we could have had Tom Brady.
But that's not the real issue.
I've only met one person who treats therapy that way and admits it in my life, and it's Tony Kornheiser, who quit therapy because he said, I can't just go and I just put on a show. It would just all be a show. I wouldn't actually let anyone near, not even a therapist, near my actual vulnerabilities. So I would distract them with Spurgeon win talk. I was thinking it'd be Kelly Holcomb.
Yeah, and then I know that the next move, that you're deflecting on that. You're full of shit, right? I'm like, I know. So does that mean we're done here? Cool. I'll circle back in 2 months.
Do you ever do bits in therapy?
Yeah, I'm always working out bits. But then it just goes back to my narcissism.
You're Matt
like
Damon.
Weekend Observations.
You're Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting. You're like.
Well, it just goes back to me being a narcissist, and then they identify me being a narcissist. I'm like, I just told you I'm a narcissist. Way to deduce that, Jack.
Pal.
Buddy.
Champ. Actually, for whatever reason, I've only gone to women.
Chief.
Mommy issues.
I guess.
Well, what babe? I don't know. Wait, I don't think
no one says babe.
Who said that?
Babe.
What's up, babe?
That was Roy deciding that he wanted.
And whatever that
Roy
voice was.
decided he
Thursday
wanted
Roy.
to get in there
Thursday
with
Roy.
the babe.
No therapy, Roy.
Jesus.
Way too comfortable.
Roy, no therapy?
No,
Don't be the guy to push therapy on it. It's not for everybody.
sure isn't.
Therapy isn't for me, really. I don't really like it. That's because I have the answers to everything because I'm a narcissist. So I don't need someone else to do it. I know what's going on here.
I'm still scared to
Caroline.
say anything to you because you're going to yell Caroline at me. My guess would be that is just Stugotz has alleged that he's had 17 different favorite songs. And then if we ask him in a month or 6
He'll
months,
change
that there'll be a different answer, right? Because he's got 15 top 5 favorite songs.
Does anybody remember what his original favorite song was? Because that seems to be a fundamental flaw.
Don't look at me. I mean,
Feels like we need more information here.
What's your favorite song, Stugotz?
Terrapin Station.
Yeah, there you go.
That would have been a different
Yeah.
answer than any we've gotten before.
Terrapin Station, Loser. As I've said about the Grateful Dead, there is no favorite song, okay? I mean, you just like the Dead or you don't like
There's
the Dead.
barely
All
a
the
song.
songs are the same. No, they're great
Barely a
songs.
song. It's just
Loser,
one long
Jackstraw,
jam.
Terrapin Station, Ramble on Rose. I mean, Tennessee Jed, Bertha, Brown Eyed Women, Cold Rain and Snow. I love them all. And I love them all equally, just like my kids. Rachel, a little bit. Runt Emma. She's been tough.
If anyone can remember what Stugotz's favorite song was the last time we asked him, please let us know.
Please let us
This
know.
is closing the loop on a bit that none of us remember.
So this is how it works around here. We have in the calendar, hey, Dan, do you remember what this is about? We have 1,000 producers. None of them can remember what this is about. Somebody, I'm assuming that that's the joke. We also just missed on the calendar Dan is Loud Wrong Day. We were supposed to celebrate that every year for the rest of time. It comes up on the calendar. I think everyone just ignored it.
Left out Scarlet Fire. He's gone. China Rider. I mean,
No, we didn't forget about Dan is Loud Wrong Day. We've just realized that there's not much there. It's just not much there. You can only celebrate, and I'm sure Jess would appreciate this, we can only celebrate one fairly meaningless victory over Notre Dame in 2017 for so long.
Thank you. I do appreciate that.
I thought Notre Dame's offensive line was going to maul Miami. Mike thought Miami was back in that game. That's the game that made Mike think that all of a sudden everything is going to be different.
Never heard a louder sound than when Trajan Bandy returned that pick six.
Dan, Brian Kelly just can't get the team ready for big games, and I'm glad he's gone because now we have a shot at winning those.
Even though you haven't seen this guy do it at all.
right.
I just love.
Can't be worse than BK, right?
I
Big
love.
game.
Can't be worse than BK, guy who won a ton and then just took a giant job and left. And honest to God, you
Went to LSU.
It doesn't seem to be going well for him so far. Like he's rubbing a lot of the coaches the wrong way. They're jumping ship. A lot of recruits have jumped ship.
Oh, but I just love what's happening with Brian Kelly, where she did not have this animus toward Brian Kelly that was public before. It didn't make an emergence until the moment that he left, and now she's swooning because the other guy has this great new coach smell. It's not just the new coach of hope. It's not just the new coach who's the same as the old coach in that he's been there and he's been in the system. It's that the new coach is beautiful. Like he's
You said
central.
new coach smell. I'd like to verify that.
I would like to know I'd like to know what the new coach smell is, because he's beautiful and it's scented. Everyone's looking at him and we are basically looking at him and saying, well, he looks the part more than Brian Kelly.
Yes.
He looks the part of leader of Notre Dame men more than Brian Kelly. Now, can he actually coach? No idea.
No idea. Don't care. How can a man who looks like that fail at anything? I mean, he's already won at the game of life. I mean, seriously.
True.
Thank you.
That's a good point. The game of life. That's a big coach thing.
But Jessica,
That's a big game.
yeah, big game
Jessica,
too.
you are a
Brian
symbol.
Kelly wouldn't win the game of life.
You are a symbol
45-14.
for hope in sports. You are a symbol for hope in sports. Your coaching analysis is all colored by your rooting allegiances.
Yes. My everything is colored by my rooting allegiance.
Are you saying Brian Kelly lost to the game of life 45-14?
He just didn't. His guys weren't ready to play. They just didn't show up.
They're never
It's
ready.
working out for Brian Kelly, man.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for him at all. And no one should. He's making a crap ton of money. Good for him. Go be on your merry way.
But Mike is saying it doesn't seem to be going well for the tenure right now of Brian Kelly.
So far, they're bad signs. I'm sure he'll get his shit together.
No, but I'm laughing at the idea.
And if he doesn't?
There are bad signs because he's about to get a bunch of swamp monsters who don't have to live by any academic requirements at LSU. And they're going to swamp people because they did get the nation's preeminent recruiter. And it doesn't much matter who's coaching those guys.
The nation's preeminent recruiters down here in Miami.
Well, Mike, what was the name? This is what Brian Kelly, you guys, I sent you guys a text, both of you, when you guys said Brian Kelly's not that good of a recruiter. And then I read that one of Brian Kelly's first hires is to go get the best recruiter in the country. Get a guy who's going to get me guys so he can sit in a throne and just be LSU's president, because if Orgeron can do it, anybody can do it.
You know what, Dan? You're right, because since then I've changed my mind. Brian Kelly is a great recruiter of recruiters. He's not a great recruiter of players, but he's a good recruiter of recruiters. That's hard to say. He's made good hires on his staff. Mike
Yeah.
Elko, who's now the defensive coordinator at Texas A&M, I think one of the most highest paid defensive coordinators in college football. Clark Lee, who's now the head coach at Vanderbilt. And Marcus Freeman, who's now
But
his
Jessica,
successor.
this is the grift. A lot of these guys have relationships with the black coaches at these black schools. This is the grift. This is how Brian Kelly becomes Lord and Savior CEO, however many $1 million a year, by going ahead and sending somebody else to go make those connections. What the hell kind of connections is Brian Kelly going to be able to make? He couldn't make one with you guys in Tahoe sitting next to a golf course. What kind of connections is he going to make with his recruits?
But his special skill is getting coaches that can do that for him. He's got a really impressive coaching tree.
Yeah, but then they asked him to shovel his driveway.
Yeah, well, that's part of it.
That's what you got to do.
But
Then he
man.
gets Robert Saleh to shovel his driveway.
I think
Right.
it'll work out for him. There's just like initial concern. That's a big change in culture from Ed Orgeron to Brian Kelly. It's probably going to take a minute for that program. Just like I think it might take a minute for Mario Cristobal down here in Miami, because you got to stack recruiting
But
classes.
this is
if that's
Mike.
your plan.
This
But
is
Billy Napier. Whoa.
This is ego, though, Mike. This is Brian Kelly thinks he could do this. Why wouldn't Brian Kelly think he could do this? If I had the handcuffs in the modern age of big business college football of, I've got to be one of the ones who cares about the grades. My school won't allow me to lower the academic standards. Lou Holtz has been complaining about it for 30 years. We're at a disadvantage. We can't lower the academic standards.
Is, right. So now he's right. He's evening
He's not
the
anymore.
score.
Now
Correct, right.
he's saying, I'm going to sit atop this thing, and I'm going to see if I can build the sprawling Saban factory.
Sure.
Where, hey, just bring me a bunch of dudes from all over the country who are super athletes. I'll get them into school. I'll preside over this, and I'll have a team of coaches go out there, Marcus Freeman's and Robert Saleh's, who will shovel my driveway and will also go get me all the players that I need so I could be Lord of LSU.
I think Brian Kelly fancies himself, and I don't think he's wrong, to be a good coach. He has gotten that team to the college football playoff. He has done so with lesser talent than Alabama and LSU and Georgia and other schools across the country. And I think now he's probably thinking to himself, hey, I'm a really good coach. I got Notre Dame to the Final Four. Give me good players, and once I get to the Final Four, I will win national championships. That's what he thinks. Will he get it done? We'll see.
I don't know. I'm with Dan now. I think he's a grifter. He knows when to call a timeout. He knows what to say at halftime when the cameras are on, and he knows how to hire good assistants. Grifter. And you do that well in college football, you make $150
You get to the
million.
top of it. Like, I don't understand.
Well, I would say you do that well in business. You get to the top.
But Stugotz, this is what
Also
I would
grifters, Stugotz.
I would say to you,
Okay. Wealthy ones. Yes.
the way we've been covering this is not as a business of grifters, Stugotz. We've been covering it because we've been draping it in football and the symbolism of discipline and leadership. There's so many used car salesmen in that sport just selling you personalities as like televangelists and on behalf of their region. I mean, Orgeron was a voice for that. I mean, they just put somebody in that place to just say, go Tigers.
He said it so well.
It's
He
so
did.
great.
He was perfect.
He said it's so great, but it's the most simplified distortion of all the compromises that need to be made to be great at the big business of dirty business. We need to go get Ed Orgeron to cover up God knows what and give him a buyout at the end. He's like, I won't even do the bowl game. Just give me my $17 million guaranteed. I'll get out from under the scandal. Our last coach, he's gone at Kansas because he was trying to do God knows what with co-eds, and that's the reason that I got this job. And so this dirty grift ends up with Ed Orgeron going to have his choice of jobs here in a couple of years when he reemerges and changes Go Tigers to something else if he wants to coach.
He's not leaving Destin. That was so great. Oh, I'm going to Destin.
That's an end. It sounded like an end game.
Destin
He's
is
gonna-
an end game.
It's so great.
It is an end game.
There's no
It is
turning
so
back.
great because you imagine, what does that life look like? It's going to be a pull-up bar and never-ending beer, correct?
Never ending. And
He's just
Good
going
for
to
him.
drink. He's going
Good for him.
to drink beer
Yep.
by a swamp in retirement.
Mhm.
He also has some contractual obligation to do LSU events every year and make another like couple $100,000
No, he'll be
a
a
year
awesome.
doing that.
He'll
Like
be a
Great,
local
for
perfect.
legend.
retirement.
Yeah.
Local legend who will come out from the swamp to greet people, slap
He'll
them
put
on the
on
back.
his shirts.
He'll put on a green jacket or purple jacket. and he'll put on a shirt. Hold on, let's Chris.
I have him shirtless for the remainder of his life.
Let's go ahead and figure this out. What does this look like? Ed Orgeron's retirement life in Destin, because this is a cabin, is it not? Is it? It's giant. But it's like I imagine logs, but palatially, not a small shack of any sort. I'm saying like a palace on the swamp, on the water, as the only house out there. A giant palace of logs.
We've got him fully nude back here for some reason.
Really?
Does he have an outdoor bathtub just for the fun? Like just because every once in a while I want to go to that copper can back there and I want to just lay in some water, or after doing all my pull-ups, a bucket of ice.
Destin looks beautiful.
It does.
Honestly, enjoy it. You can't spell destination without Destin.
Now I've got him doing like a commercial for Destin. Come on out. Beautiful. The way the toes touch your sand, the sand touch your toes, either way.
And do the tagline. You can't spell destination without Destin.
Big D in Destin. Hell yeah.
What? Wait a minute.
Big D.
Wait a minute. I don't understand what you're doing.
There's a reason they call me Coach O. Oh, hell yeah.
Wait a minute. No.
Thursday, Chris. Why?
I don't understand why this took a pornographic turn.
Just stay where you are, though.
What do you mean? Hey, there's a reason they call me Coach O. How did you go from Chamber of Commerce infomercial to trying to seduce the ladies?
Who's next? Oh, man.
Nice, foghorn leghorn.
I'll say.
Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day.
Blue Wire Pod putting out this stat. Tim Duncan, who has been retired 5 years now, has 127 more wins than the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Big fundamental. And the T-Wolves.
That is correct, Stugotz. Both of the
Thank
things
you.
that you have said there
2 for 2.
are correct. Way to go.
Yep.
Playing the last little notes of a Hall of Fame broadcasting career.
Yeah.
Just big fundamental T-Wolf, just farting out the laziest
I didn't even hear the
possible,
stat. I mean-
laziest possible notes on, the twilight of your career.
Twilight.
A once glorious prime that would have said
I got bills to pay.
the big fundamental with great actual joy, not bored indifference at the end of a hard week spent talking. Another hard, brutal week spent talking.
That's all I got left on that.
And then by Thursday, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what you belch out tomorrow when the best you've got today is big fundamental and T-Wolves. The T-Wolves.
I have Golick tomorrow. Chris Sims, Jabba Chamberlain, of course.
I thought
God bless football.
God bless football.
God bless football. I thought, Chris Cody, that Adnan Virk, I just saw that it went out on the feed. Adnan Virk in asking the question, and I thought I'd ask it of you and the group. Have any of you had in your life sex where you take all of the things off of the table with a swipe of the arm because
Never.
you're so You're so passionate.
So inefficient.
You're so passionate at this point. Well, it's efficient. Well, it's efficient to get right to the
afterwards.
sex.
But, right, it's efficient, but
It's
afterwards.
efficient on the front end. It's inefficient afterward, right? And you might be thinking in the interim, is that bowl still spinning on the floor that I hear?
My wife would kill me if I swept everything off a table to have sex with her.
I thought it was a great question. I don't know where
In House of Gucci, which Adnan breaks down this week, there's a scene where Lady Gaga and Adam Driver have sex. Spoiler alert, and they just throw everything off of a desk, and it's just like, why are we doing this? No one actually ever does that in real life.
So annoying, right? The paper
Okay,
clips.
we got one yes back here in the room. Not going to say who it came
Why?
from.
I
but we
didn't
had
hear
one
the
yes.
Is that
Well, Dano Laquina Cochina está activado.
Hell yeah.
All right, so that is the dirty Latin corner has been activated.
I'm laughing. I have no idea what he said. I mean.
Well, Tony,
Is that a roasted pig?
you, Stugotz,
Yeah.
given your affinity for Tony in general, now that he's talking Latin,
Uh-huh. Oh,
and he's
boy.
telling you, Tony is saying that he has passionately, Hispanically thrown things off the table in order to have sex.
And then afterwards, is it just like, all right, well, let's pick up this thing?
Is it one movie arm? Is it one swipe like across a desk or something? It's got to be one swipe.
Yeah,
to be
one swipe. Long arm, Dano.
You can't
One
get
swipe the
everything
whole
in
way.
one- No, you
Not
can't
just
get
a long
everything in
arm.
one swipe.
No, you got a stapler over there that
Yeah.
if it's still there.
What if you miss something and then you're having sex on a paperweight?
All right.
So where did the question take you, Chris? Like where did it lead?
It took us to whether Adnan had ever done it.
Oh, for the love of
there's
God.
no
Tune in to
way.
find
There's
out.
just no way.
There's no way.
There's just
I will
no-
tune in to find
There's
out.
just no way. It's not possible.
That man's a bit of a horn dog, huh?
He is. He's got
It's the best
well,
part of working with him is that I've learned that he loves to work blue. Any kind of movie he watches, anything he's reviewing, he's finding that little dirty thing he can talk about.
Well, let's talk about this for a second, shall we? I'd like to discuss this because I accused Jason Jackson of this, of the Miami Heat the other day, of having the biggest disparity in sports media between charming televised persona who talks in his broadcasting voice and his cartoon fun, and then all of a sudden, as soon as the lights go down, takes off the mask and he is playing dirty poker.
Golf course Jason Jackson is my favorite Jason Jackson.
Okay, but in
I mean,
this
spend
case,
18 holes on a course with Jay
Yes,
Jackson. You'll get
yes,
everything.
It is
okay?
riding the train tracks. What are you pointing to,
No,
Roy?
Roy
What
knows.
was-
He is absolutely correct in that. Yes, he is right. He's a horn dog.
I mean, 18 holes with Jason Jackson is like it's spending it with an entirely different person than the guy you see on TV. You get everything, and he's hammered by the fifth hole. I mean, it's great. I love him.
Mike, why are you backing away from
More
the
like
microphone?
19 holes.
I ain't spilling all this tea, man. Do you?
But we were talking about the disparity between broadcast personalities, and we were talking about Adnan Virk gives off cartoonish decency. It's like if I told you right now that Hall of Famer Tim Kirkjian had a dirty blue side, you'd be like, no, he doesn't. I know Tim Kirkjian. I know him. There's no way that he's going to be talking about masturbating hound dogs the way that Adnan Virk did when he decided to talk to Mike Schur and try to impress him.
Basset hound.
That was his hello.
It's fine.
Thank you, Roy. It was a basset hound. It was not a hound dog that Adnan Virk came out and wanted to talk about masturbating.
It was a hound.
And that was his hello to Mike Scheer.
Is Tim Kirchin the guy you can at least see clearing a table to have sex? I mean,
Now we're doing that
oh, I was just
because
asking
I was
a
going to say
question.
Charlie Weiss.
What are you doing there?
Just
Ooh,
his
Brian Kelly's a good one.
his lower half is sewn on backwards, and so it's just not.
I got you.
That's what I was doing.
Who's the
Thank
fat
you.
person we would most imagine doing this? Because we're playing the game with Charlie Weiss where it's like fat.
Tony Saragusa.
Ooh.
Goose.
Chris missed yesterday's sensitivity training.
Chris thinks he gets grandfathered in as a fat guy. We're not allowed to make fun of fat people anymore, Chris.
I mean, you said Charlie Weiss, so you opened the
But
door.
only because his bottom half is sewn on backwards, and I get the dispensation of being a fellow fat
wait,
guy.
wait a minute. We're not allowed to make fun of fat anymore?
Let's
No.
not do this show again.
No.
Orgeron would absolutely do that.
Oh, for sure.
Every time.
Orgeron
It's not
shirtless.
fat.
Orgeron would do like the Dudley Boys finishing move to have sex. You're going through that table. Like it's at Ralph Wilson Stadium.
Let's go back there for a second. Can we go back there for a second? Because I don't think we mapped out the life of Ed Orgeron post-career enough after Stugotz threw out there. He's got to put a shirt on to come get his couple $100,000 when he comes back into the city to glad hand. He's got it because I don't have him totally bringing a shirt on. I have him now just throwing on the purple jacket and he's shirtless and he's just doing late stages, Baton Rouge Elvis, where he just comes
some Mardi Gras beads on him.
He's got the necklace.
He just swings through and look at you. Better 15 years from now, you better keep your grandmother away from that gas pump because he'll hit on her the way he was hitting on all the donor wives. Because hell yeah, he's Ed Orgeron. You can't let him loose in the swamp. Like that's a thing that happened in college football. That ran the greatest team I've ever seen in college football. Just smoked everybody and then, never mind, get out of here, Ed. Here's $17 million. Do you know how much that's worth on the swamp?
You own Dustin.
Do you know how he's going to live? Mike, tell me more because I am applying unfair stereotypes here. I don't know anything about Destin. I just assume that Ed Orgeron is a bayou creature, that he'd be perfectly happy living on a swamp.
Well, this is crystal clear blue waters in Destin. It looks like a paradise. It looks like a retirement community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like an end game. And I'm very happy for him.
So a boardwalk, I mean, that's an end game. Is when you have a boardwalk, you have arrived at the end. I mean, I'm telling you.
But not the world I was creating. You're saying it's more like Century Village than it is some, because I'm doing the water boy on steroids. The water boy with money is what I'm doing. Just whatever that Kathy Bates and Adam Sandler.
No, Destin is certainly not that.
But
it's like that, but a beach town.
What I'm saying is that's what the outdoors are like. You can build a beautiful cul-de-sac and a community, but the surrounding outdoors, not unlike Florida, is a whole lot of swampland. Like, I don't know.
Have you seen the movie Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar?
Yes.
That's basically Destin.
Okay, so
yeah.
It's so bad, says old crazy sex haver back there.
It had its moments.
It looks nice. I mean, I'm seeing a bunch of boats on the water, Gulf of Mexico. I mean, looks like an end game.
Yeah.
No one has a shirt on.
His end game.
Yes.
But he doesn't often have a shirt on, correct?
No. I imagine the rest of his life, the majority of his time is going to be spent without a shirt.
Put it on the poll, please, Chris Cody. Is the majority of the rest of Ed Orgeron's life going to be spent not wearing a shirt? I think that's what LSU is giving him those $100,000 for. Ed, come back twice a year and bring your purple jacket.
Ledge. It's very hard to win a national title. It's hard. He did it.
He did.
Yeah.
And not only did it, but just swamped everyone in a way that made it obvious by Game 7.
Yeah.
And now
they're come up.
But now they're giving that factory over to a CEO. Like, the business of this is, you see what's happening, Stugotz, says David Sampson and John Skipper tell you on the latest South Beach session that these salaries are absolutely worth paying for Mario Cristobal and whatever buyouts you have to do, $8 million here, $9 million there, for the James Franklins and all of these figureheads who are now, as the money really opens up, Stugotz, because they're predicting that you're going to see a college quarterback here soon make $3 or $5 million, like that the going rate for a college quarterback, that this is going to become the XFL or whatever it is, where it just dispenses with all the nonsense of, we were trying to do this amateurly. Now the floodgates have opened on this is all professional now.
Right. So spending that much money on a buyout and getting a new coach makes sense because there's so much money at stake.
To make your program, right. Now we're going full dirty. We're taking off the mask. All right, here's the fight. Who's the first to the dollars? Let's go. It's SEC money. It's television money. Who wants to fight? We're fighting the swamp. You want to do it with academics? You're going to lose. You want to do it? You want to do it as Stanford and Notre Dame? Like, you want to keep trying to as this becomes more and more of a business, you want to keep doing it as an independent that requires the average SAT to be 1250, or do you want to go ahead and just sell more and more of your soul on the idea that this isn't about academics at all? This is about the football factory now, plain and bold.
I'd like to see this. Do you guys think we'll see this? Like a quarterback, a current quarterback or player just leverages university to get money. If I'm Bryce Young right now, I tell Nick Saban, hey, get me $1 million or I'm going elsewhere. There's a transfer portal. I'm going to Georgia.
Well, this is what they were fearing, though, Stugotz. This is what they were fearing. It's why they kept the mask on of student-athlete for all this time and kept all the money to themselves. But now they have to share it with the coaches, and now it's in plain sight because of the pandemic. We can all see it. Oh, wait, there's money all over the place here for everybody. This is the minor leagues of the NFL, and it's a giant league, with all sorts of money. And let's see now who could be the top of the dirtiest business, because now these factories are going to become more and more professional.
Right.
Now it's Chase Saban. It's get Saban because he's way ahead. He's Netflix. He's 10 years ahead of everybody on, I'm going to change the way television's done.
Are you like me where you're reminded Mark Emmert still has that job every time he says something stupid every now and then?
It's all he exists. It's his. They kept the Bulls alive here, Mike, because the commissioners and the Bull people had to stay relevant. And this guy's just he's about to get dwarfed by, man, we don't care about your rules anymore. This is all going to be professional sports. We're going to make it more and more professional. And it's going to happen so quickly from day one, from one day to the next, that you guys are going to get floored, everyone, when Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly changed teams because they saw it before you did.
Mark Emmert said yesterday that the toughest job in America is a university president.
Tougher than actual president.
Like, I know he works for those people, but it is like just an insanely funny and out of touch thing to say.
They're first responders, all that, teachers, all that.
Didn't he also say there are trust issues that are like hard for the NCAA to overcome? No, the person they don't trust is you.
He also said there are open investigations into NIL. Mark, we're about done here. It's just the next time he tries to come at any school, I really hope sincerely that school just gives him the finger and like, we don't need you anymore. We'll Super League this thing.
I do think, though, that when he says hardest job in America, if the way that you define jobs is that they're impossible to do, that makes it the hardest job. His right now might be the one that like he's trying to hold on to some quaint value of yesteryear of whatever he's doing, where academics and president matter, as the University of Miami just realized, wait, I've got to go get money from my hospitals, from my medical school to go pay for this business investment over here
to catch up with everybody else that's doing the same thing.
That's correct. But it's never played out that way, Mike. Like the pandemic, Stugotz, has sped all of this up where you're like, whoa, you're still. Everyone's learning in real time. 2 bombs go off in the same weekend that shake the core of NFL football. Nothing can shake it. Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly are moving.
And I think it's all going to happen very fast.
It's already happening very fast.
No, I think that's where he's uncomfortable, Mike. It's happening so fast he can't wrangle it in.
Everything's going to happen super fast. We'll be underwater here in Miami fast, and we won't care because we'll be inside the Oculus Rift.
We're going to need a shady billionaire to build us some sort of stadium that floats over the water.
Doesn't matter. The waves will lap across my actual laps, but I'll just be plugged inside the Oculus Rift.
John Ruiz?
He may save us all.
Really?
I don't know.
Did you guys?
I think he's going to buy the Marlins.
Hold on before.
What?
And that is a Mike Ryan exclusive.
He gets I
think he's going to.
I think Bruce Sherman is spending all this money because he sees John Ruiz loving baseball.
I saw the other day, I went back in the portal the last couple of nights to watch old-fashioned television. I've been making fun of Stugotz for 24 hours that he and I the other night watched Facts of Life and Different Strokes in prime time.
Glorious, man.
Because our childhood was on the screen there yesterday.
To make it worse, we broke it down on the air.
Yes. Well, yesterday, though, I'm flipping through the channels and I stop on, because I've gotten used to very quickly. No commercials, just no commercials anywhere on anything. And Inside Edition was on, and it took me back to a different time in the past. And they are covering some award show where Jeff Bezos is giving out an award to his good friend and tequila drinking buddy, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And Inside Edition informed me of their friendship. I was not aware that they were friends, but Jeff Bezos is now an awards presenter who is friends with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson because he's got a lot of money.
He's going to be part of the forces that push us to this Oculus Rift, Dan. I'm telling you, it's happening. You're going to die with a big fat smile on your face. I'm sorry, that wasn't a shot of your weight. It's just the cliche that people use. You'll just be plugged in. Listen to Total Entertainment Forever by Father John Misty. That's pathetic. Telling you, that's where we're headed, man.
That turned dark. Why did John Gruden make an appearance to tell me that that's where we were headed?
Undo a lot of bad things inside the Oculus Rift.
Where is Gruden?
Inside the Oculus Rift, man. Come over here. It's way better inside here. I'm still the coach over here.
For some reason, I wanted McConaughey's voice.
Wait, I'm still the coach over here. I'm the coach in the future. The coach of the future looks like John Gruden.
It's one big roller coaster tycoon over here, man. But it's vivid.
Well, Mike and I were actually just having a debate, Dan, because he said, how are things going up there? And meaning Alabama. But to me, it sounds like you should be saying down there whenever you're talking about Alabama, but we're technically farther south than Alabama, but it is the South. It's a very confusing geographic
but we
it's
say
up there.
We say up there to everyone except Key West. We say up there. It's up there to everyone. This is because you're from New York. Or this you're not from down here. You're from up there.
Up there to me indicates like New Jersey or Maine. Not Alabama.
Well, which is it, Goodman? Go ahead and make a ruling as he joins us now because he's got a new book. We Want Bama, A Season of Hope. It's available now. Is this an uplifting book written for Alabama fans?
Well, I want to hear his ruling first.
Yes, but we want Bama, A Season of Hope. I don't associate like hopeful stories with Alabama football, but yes, please be the arbiter on this first. Are you in Alabama? Are you up there or are you down there?
Down there.
But
here's from up there compared to Miami. But here's what I always tell everybody. Okay, like the South ends at Gainesville, because if you go to a football game in the swamp, they have kiosks that have to advertise genuine sweet tea, and so that's not something people have to say in Alabama, but. So from Gainesville, at least they have sweet tea. From there south, it's not the South. That's what I tell people. That's where it ends.
It's the Northeast. What are you saying?
No, it's just Florida. It's his own thing.
Cuba.
Well, you have your own. You're one of the few. You can't run into many people who have lived both places, right? Miami and Alabama. You left Miami. You came to Miami from Alabama and then went back to Alabama, correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. No, I don't know. I really don't know anyone who's done that. Keith Askins stayed. He was like, forget y'all, I'm staying. That's an assistant for the Heat. He's from Alabama. He's now an administrator.
But you have a unique perspective on how different these two places are because politically and everywhere else, like we have seen over the last, I think a whole lot of people have noticed that Miami is not like the rest of Florida, is not like Alabama. It's an entirely different world. I can't even imagine how much of a different world it was for you.
Well, Dan, I like to say that journalists are like citizens of the world, but I mean, comparing Birmingham, Alabama to Miami, like the only thing they have in common is the nickname, which is the Magic City. I mean, it's night and day different. Love Miami, and it just completely changed my entire life living there. It gave me a perspective on the world and everything that you couldn't get anywhere else. So, yeah, absolutely different than Birmingham, Alabama.
What has it been like spending this much time writing about this one subject that so many people have written about? So many people are interested on how it is that the factory of Alabama continues to work. Did you get deep inside? Were you able to get an access that we don't generally have to that program?
No, hell no. No. I mean, through reporting, and talking to parents, they let me know everything that was going on. But as far as like, the University of Alabama like cooperating in any way at all. No, they don't. Of course, that they didn't do that. And in fact, I think they probably tried to hinder, my efforts along the way, as you would probably expect. But the book is actually about racial justice. It's about a team in 2020 that came together in the summer of 2020 over the act of marching to the schoolhouse door on the campus of the University of Alabama, which is an infamous place here in Alabama, because that's where Governor George Wallace stood in 1963 and said segregation now, segregation forever. He said that in his inauguration speech, but he enacted that there at the schoolhouse door. So the team marched to the schoolhouse door in the summer of 2020, and that really galvanized this team and made a statement as the most powerful force in Alabama, above everything else, that they were going to stand for racial justice. And from there they became like the ultimate team, as Nick Saban would say later.
Okay, you're going to have a hard time convincing anybody that this is going to be a lovable team and a lovable story of Nick Saban leading this team that has really enraged America because it's hogged all the winning.
But Saban has become more lovable. I think people are starting to like Nick Saban a little bit.
I'm guessing that the reason, Joe, that you pour your life into a book for a year and a half, it's a difficult undertaking. And you're at an age now and you've lived some, so I'm guessing it's the macro that lured you, right? Like, how do I tell this difficult story about the history of race in our area through this football team?
That's right. That's exactly what I sat down to write the book, and it's really for me, it was a crazy story because I actually had a contract to write a book before the pandemic happened. Okay. And the contract was for like Nick Saban's decade of dominance. But the pandemic happened and it just changed everything. And so I'd done the reporting, before the pandemic, but then like when that happened, I knew that was going to be, whatever happened, that was going to be the book that I had to write. So after it was all over, and I literally went to a cabin in the woods for like 5 weeks and wrote the manuscript. And I sat down at the computer and I was like, I'm going to have to write the book that I know that I have to write. It's not going to be the book that they expect that the publishers expect to find, okay, when I file it. But I wrote the book that I felt needed to be written. And, for that, that when I came to terms with, I had to do what I had to do, that freed me up to really write what I felt was a more compelling book. So, you're right about pouring yourself into it. I mean, I thought I was going to go insane. So,
it's crazy. No, but the process of submerging yourself in complicated degree of difficulty subject matter, and now all of a sudden you've had to detour and write a different book. You thought you were writing an easy to sell, easy to buy book of a decade of winning. Everybody in Alabama
That's
buy
right.
this.
I might
now
write that
everyone
book.
hates me. Now everyone totally hates me. Yes, you're right. That's exactly right.
Joe, I know you got your roots over there, but when you were down here covering the Big Three Heat, that Southern drawl wasn't there. You moved back up there and you've turned into Brian Kelly.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, man, come on. Ask Ethan or Shandell. They'll tell you. Everyone called me Alabama on the beat. Come on.
Just a normal accent that isn't the Miami accent does kind of stand out, but now you're up there and you got that drawl a little bit.
Oh, come on.
Come on. Let me hear you talk about your family.
I didn't even notice his accent.
It's not like that.
Take
me home to those Alabama pines. Come on, Joe. I'm talking the real family like Jason Isbell's. Come on.
Listen, as someone who grew up in the South, okay, and, Birmingham has like a very distinct Southern accent compared to other places. Like, believe it or not, it's not like super thick like other places in Alabama, okay? But when you move out of the South, and you're surrounded by everybody who does not have a Southern accent, then you start to pick that up, whether you realize it or not. But yeah, you move back and you just, start talking again, like I'm from down there.
Yeah, over time. Or you have these cases like Madonna and Brian Kelly, where immediately it happens.
Yeah, that was so much BS. Oh my God. Like, from a Southerner's perspective, like, that is the absolute worst thing that he could have done. I mean, and especially following a guy like Ed Orgeron, who had that just like iconic Louisiana Cajun accent, and that guttural, like, he has been drinking battery acid, and for Brian Kelly to come down there, I mean, that's just ridiculous.
It is.
Boudreaux Kelly with an X.
He's putting the mask on, and you know the big business of it, though, Joe, because you've been in the middle of this story, which is Nick Saban got to the money and the CEO-ness of this before anybody else and perfected it and created this corporation that the Joseph Goodman, lifelong journalist, can't really get anywhere near the corporate cold, but what you could get to was the parents. So why does everyone hate you?
Well, not everyone hates me. It's, people either love the book or they hate the book. And I feel like that's probably means it's a good book. But the fact that, I wrote what happened in Alabama, really upset a lot of people. But they bought this book and they thought that there was going to be like, I guess that they thought I was going to ignore everything that happened in 2020. I don't really know what they thought, but, there's definitely been a segment of the population in Alabama fans, whatever, who were upset that I went into the entire history of, racism in Alabama and through the lens of the Alabama football team in 2020.
Well, take
season of hope means like the summer of 2020. Okay. I mean, if you have to read the book, I don't, but.
Well, no, it's clear. No, you made it clear, though, because I did think that I did not know that you were writing a macro book. I assumed it, but I didn't know it because it can be very easy, Joe. Like, I don't know what you were going through as you decided to go the different way that the publisher thought you should, or how much of an internal fight it was, or how close to crazy you were going in a cabin lonely when you realized, wait a minute, the book I'm supposed to write that would be an easy success. 10 years of dominance. I'll be a bestseller in Birmingham. Everyone will buy it. Super easy. You decide, nah, I'm gonna do this, and this is gonna make people much more uncomfortable. And
I'd like to know about that process.
Yes.
Though.
Well,
yes.
I imagine that's a real crisis of the soul if you identify as a writer, reporter, truth teller, storyteller.
It wasn't a crisis of the soul for me. I mean, I knew that's what I had to do. And I was behind that the entire time, but I didn't tell anyone about it. The crisis of the soul was like, I finally got this opportunity to write a book as a writer, as a journalist, and I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna write what I want to write, and you guys are gonna have to accept it or not. Now, they ended up loving the book. Like, on the first read, they loved it immediately, and they were really happy about it. So. My gut was right, I guess. I don't know, or just the truth that I was able to tell was compelling. But yeah, the crisis was for me. I want to write another book. If I write this one book and they hate it because it's not what they wanted me to write, then I'm not going to be able to write another book. So, I guess I had to make that internal decision.
Can I roll with the easier book? I mean, what do you, Decade of Dominance? I mean, it seems like a moneymaker. New York Times bestseller.
Dominance,
yeah.
Dynasty.
Yeah.
Why is that? To me, that's not interesting anymore.
No, I know, but it sells,
Right, exactly.
It's like I was telling Dan Shaughnessy in Boston, he could write a book every couple of years about the 80s Celtics, and every year will be a New York Times bestseller, and so he does it.
And he does it. And this is what Stugotz is saying. You had to make a choice, because now my guess is that Alabama folks might not want to read the dirty underbelly. If we're fighting about critical race theory in our schools and we're divided by regions all over the place, I don't know if anyone in Alabama football wants to hear from Joseph Goodman on the subject of race.
Well, it is not a monolith like maybe you think it is, Alabama. It's a really diverse state, okay? So, and the South is a really diverse place. So there have been a lot of people who have really loved it and have thanked me for it. But then at the same time, there's definitely that we don't talk about this, okay? What are you doing? Element of it all, stick to sports, which is just such gaslighting nonsense. But yeah, you're absolutely right, man. There's been some blowback, but I mean, I get that all the time as a columnist, so it's not like I wasn't prepared for that.
Well, what'd you learn, though, as you started, as it crystallized for you? Because did it legitimately happen in the cabin? 5 weeks tucked away, you're like, I'm doing the wrong thing. I need to pivot here. The emotions of the moment require that I write a different book. Is it happening that clearly?
Yeah, well, I had so many notes and so much research, and I sat down to write the book, and yeah, it became pretty clear to me immediately that the thing that I had to write was what was the thing that was my heart was telling me to write. So, I storyboarded everything, and my writing sessions were so insane, Dan. So I would wake up at 1:30 a.m. and I would write until 7:30 a.m. and then I would take a nap until 9:30 a.m. and then I would write all the way until 9 p.m. with only a small break for lunch, and I would go take a walk, and then I would outline from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. for the next day. Then I would go to sleep from 10 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. and do it again. And so I did that for from almost. Well, I actually finished it faster than 5 weeks, but I really wanted to have. So we were all had cabin fever in 2020, and I really wanted the book to have that energy. And the only way that I could put myself in that place, for it to have that is to just do it and have this intense, this intense narrative that, and if you read the book, you can tell the way I wrote it, the style. But to get to that place, I felt like that's what I had to do as an artist.
But what'd you learn?
I learned I could write a damn book.
And what did you learn about your reporting about the racial history of Alabama and and the program's context within it?
So what really struck me with the history of the state of Alabama is the fact that, okay, this is a good example, okay? Birmingham, Alabama was founded a decade after the Civil War, okay? It wasn't even around. It wasn't even a city. And yet there was this huge monument to Confederate soldiers in the middle of downtown from 1901 until the summer of 2020, when an Alabama super fan, okay, his name is Jermaine Johnson, he's a comedian, he led a protest in Kelly Ingram Park, which is that's the infamous park. Kelly Ingram Park is where the fire hoses happened in Birmingham. Birmingham's racial history, as everyone knows, is internationally infamous. So in this park, this Alabama superfan named Jermaine Johnson, he goes by the stage name Funny Mane, he had this impromptu speech that ignited everybody. And that day, they went and protested in front of the monument and they tore it down. So the fact that the Lost Cause Confederacy is so prevalent in the state of Alabama, these elements and that sentiment really led into the strength of the University of Alabama football program. And people from Alabama understand this, but maybe people elsewhere don't. But for people from Alabama, for a lot of people, for a long time, Alabama was ranked 50th in education and health and everything like that. But at least they had Alabama football, and Alabama football just went and beat the crap out of everybody during the Bear Bryant era. So there was very much fighting the Civil War in every football game type of ideal. That was just in the background all the time. So there was a lot of things about the state of Alabama that kind of were reflected in the University of Alabama football team for a long time. And so that gave the football players a lot of power, and that built up power is actually what this team in 2020 used, to kind of use their voice to make a stand in their own stand in the schoolhouse door. So I don't know. That's a kind of meandering thought.
Chris Cody, why does the research sheet here say to ask him a question about anachrophobia? Why do all of the things on this research sheet?
Arachnophobia, Dan. That's fine.
That's fine, yeah.
Why is that? Why is that?
I may have gotten a little confused when I saw the last name Goodman. There's a lot of Goodmans in the world.
Okay.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm interviewing the wrong guy. I thought that this was John Goodman, not Joseph Goodman.
Joseph Goodman, though, a little better looking than I expected. Though, look at him.
Well,
He's a very handsome man.
He was ahead of that whole Peaky Blinder hat thing too.
We're happy for you. The writing of a book is quite the accomplishment. I mean, you grew up in small town Alabama newspapers, right?
So did Brian Kelly.
It's a pretty cool achievement to arrive at the point that the cabin didn't kill you and the stir crazy of that schedule didn't kill you, and you write the book. You write the book that your heart told you to write. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. And just emulating you and idolizing you my entire career, that means a lot.
Oh, but I didn't mean
appreciate that, man. Very nice of you.
Look, it's the truth. I always tell people the greatest sports journalist of my generation is Dan LeBatard. Full stop. That's it.
Oh, I get it.
What?
Misread the entire thing.
Yeah. It would have been funnier to end on just the note of it being confusing because Stugotz thought that you were complimenting him. But I didn't want to feel condescending with the idea of having seen what you did and being proud that you did it that way. It's a pretty cool story that you're at the. I mean, people don't know your whole story, but you took a big life and career risk to even leave the comforts of what you knew to come to Miami. And I remember.
Don't you guys just love each other?
Well, no, I just remember how shocked he was.
Dovey. I mean, you and Jeff Goodman, huh? Pretty certain.
No,
What do you mean?
you are not all paid up. How many punishments have you done?
One.
Stugotz,
what was it?
It was lying for an entire show.
And no, you also cut a toenail.
That was from last year, I believe. It doesn't matter. I've done 2. Okay, and now I'm controlling Roy's Twitter account.
How dare you not honor your bets?
That's a punishment for Roy.
Oh.
What were the highlights, Roy? What were the highlights, Roy, of him running your Twitter account? I know he put a picture of Sidney Crosby earlier this week.
I wish he put a picture of Sidney Crosby. Instead, he just sent out a link to Google Images of Sidney Crosby because he is old as shit.
So is your mom.
He just dropped your mother. Your mother.
Do that to someone that's lost their moms.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have.
When said that?
People come at Roy all the time with that. It doesn't stop them.
Let's go.
Well, I don't know that their mother is dead. And by the time they actually say that, I don't care.
Yeah.
But we know that Mike's mom is unfortunately passed away. So
thanks for the
Wow, you
reminder.
changed the
Softened
tone
it a
there.
little
Very,
bit.
very, it was very graceful the way that unfortunately passed away many, many years ago. It was strange the way your tone changed. Your tone change felt very insincere there.
Like there was a speed bump mid-sentence.
Unfortunately, you lost your mom. I don't want to make fun of that. But Stugotz did, to extra agitate Roy, he did tell someone your mother that's the time he chose to use super formal grammar. It was no you mama, no nothing. It was just your mother.
crossed the line there.
He really did. Tony, are you ready to go to the bucket of death? He's going to rummage
Dano, I'm
around.
always ready to go to the bucket of death. Last week, I got the Titans, I believe, on bye.
Kind of taking the Dano thing.
What about your relationship with Dan has made you so comfortable to call him
It's
Dan?
amazing. Yeah.
Well, I call you Maiko. Stugotz.
Stugotz, I like that.
I got the Rams.
Yeah. I like whatever you do, Tony.
Thank you.
There you go.
Who are they playing?
Getting 2 points against the Cardinals on Monday Night Football.
It's a who's game.
It is it?
MNF.
Is it? It's a
Ooh.
who? Are you proclaiming it a who's game? That's
Feels
it.
like
In the
it.
NFC West, yeah, it definitely
Kind of
is.
feels like the Rams got to have this.
It's a
Yeah,
great
they
slate
do.
of games this weekend. The
Well,
NFL.
which
It's a
is
gotta
it?
have it game
Wait,
for the Rams.
is it a gotta have it
They have
game
a
or is
tough
it a who's
schedule.
who game?
No,
Which one
Rams
is it?
got to have it.
No, the Rams.
Is that
gotta
is that
have
a
it.
must
Rams
win?
gotta have it.
Is that a must win?
No.
It's
not
just a
must-win
gotta
yet.
have
it. Gotta have it,
They
yeah.
play in the NFC. They'll be fine, but it kind of feels like they gotta have it.
Just gotta have it. Is that which one's bigger and better? A who's who game or
Who's
a?
who?
Yeah, 'cause
I
who's
think
who
they
involves
kind of
both.
gotta have it.
Yeah. Well, no. Who's who? Like it means something to both teams.
I think gotta have it is the bigger game.
That's
And you
only
have
for
to
the Rams.
have, but that makes it a bigger game to me.
It's a divisional game, too.
right.
So.
Yeah. No.
I mean,
The
it's
Rams
not- no, it
gotta
does
have
mean
it for their
something.
confidence. They need it for their
I
confidence
really
moving
like a
forward
gotta
here.
have it
Yeah.
and a who's who game.
Yeah.
That's what the SEC championship was.
Rams at Cardinals. All the lines provided by DraftKings. -2. The Cardinals are a 2-point favorite. Are you going to take it or put it back?
I'm going to keep the Rams on Monday Night Football.
Really?
Yep, I'm
On the
going to keep
road.
them.
Living dangerously.
Road doggy.
Yeah.
Road
Put the
doggy.
kids to
I
bed.
like it, man.
Wow, that you don't have any. You've got a lot of fear of that bucket
Yeah.
taking a dog.
You got some balls,
A
kid.
road
Thank you.
dog.
You got some Jonies.
Stugotz
Sure
would like to
does.
see them.
I have.
Roy. He
what?
just
The
he can't
revelations.
Hey,
he
yo.
cannot
Subtle
be
what?
subtle.
What happened?
He cannot be subtle. I took the joke he wanted.
Responding to someone else.
I took the joke he wanted, and so where he went straight to I've seen his balls.
A premature pull by Roy.
Is that a revelation?
Roy's pulled the Bears.
I
for
pulled the
those
Bears in a
struggling.
face
Gotta put
mask.
that
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, yeah.
Playing the
Yeah, I just
Packers.
lost the face mask. Yeah, get that out.
Auto loss.
Guys with these face masks.
Not gonna
Stop
make
with,
that
stop with the
joke again.
aggressive rummaging.
The
I'm not
Bears,
aggressive.
12 and a
are.
half
I hear
point dog.
Yeah, haven't beaten the
You put it
Packers
back.
in years.
My Bears.
I have the Jaguars.
Oh, jeez. Bears and Jaguars.
Jesus.
Two helmets. The
Who's
Bears
the
and
Jags playing?
God.
I think
The
they're in a
Titans.
yeah. This is a decent spot
Worst
for the
pick
Jags.
ever.
Titans off the bye, right?
8.5 point dog against the Titans. Yeah. So somehow I upgraded.
Did anyone get
somehow.
healthy?
I think those are the two
Solid
worst
spot for the
back-to-back
Jags.
picks we've ever had.
Jags are -8.5 at the Titans.
It is an
Well, no, they're
upgrade.
plus 8.5. Yeah.
I'm
They're-
sorry,
Yeah,
yes,
they're
I'm
road
sorry.
doggy as well. This is going to be a challenge, but they can have it, right?
Not really.
No.
But yeah, maybe it's football. Go ahead, Chris. It's really petering out there. You're really at the bottom of the bucket.
Ravens.
You got the Brownies off a bye. 2.5 point favorite are the Cleveland Browns, courtesy of our friends
You're
over at
on the
DraftKings.
road with the Ravens. You're playing Cleveland.
Baker playing?
Baker's playing.
Baker's
the team
playing.
is rested.
Yeah,
Lamar's
but the Browns-
playing.
Marlon Humphrey
This
is out.
Ravens team. It's like you don't know who they are.
You know who the Browns are?
I'm putting it back.
Touche.
I don't like it. I like the Browns.
Uh-oh.
Do you know who
Risky.
anybody is?
No,
You're
but
scared
the
of
Cardinals.
everything. You're scared
The
of
Cowboys.
everything. You
The
think
Bears.
I'll
You know
take
that they're
that.
bad.
I'll take that.
Tony just took the Rams and you just said the Cardinals. He just picked the Rams
Big
on the
mistake.
road against the Cardinals.
I would have thrown that back, man.
So you got the Cowboys. You're playing against the football team. You're a 4.5 point favorite on the
Upgrading it.
road. Green Lizards playing some good football.
People
lately.
are
Yep.
scared of Washington now. Their offensive line is
Alrighty.
mauling people. And I heard earlier this week, this is something that I heard. Stugotz, I haven't listened to this kind of radio in a while, but it was on in my car and I was listening. What's wrong with the Reaper?
Reaper's just don't worry about
Nothing.
it.
Trying to
I'm
be
picking for
helpful.
Witty.
Just
Trying to be
for
helpful.
Witty.
You were listening.
Hold on a second before you reach in there because I have to ask you guys. Serious football commentary is going to break out right now in the middle of the bucket because on my satellite radio, Get Up, the television show, was being aired. And I don't know whether it was Louis Riddick or Bart Scott. I couldn't tell who was on the show. But Jessica, what are you doing?
There's some sneaky stuff going on right
she's
here.
got a Packer helmet in her hand already.
Put it back. It doesn't count. He said
Okay.
hold it.
Doesn't count.
Whoa.
I was picking for Whitty, so
Oh, okay. No, that counts.
I already put it back.
Well, she already put it back. I mean, she
He said it
did.
doesn't count.
All right, then
The
it
Packers
doesn't
are a
count.
12.5-point favorite.
You told me to put it
I
back.
think he would like that.
It doesn't count.
It doesn't matter.
Count.
It doesn't count. Yep. Don't forget
Doesn't
about
count.
Billy either.
Now,
okay?
who was speaking? Lewis Riddick
I don't
or
know.
Bart Scott?
I don't know. But
That's on you.
But it was Get Up.
Well, no, because it wasn't clear and it was just for a second. It is on me, and I
It's a
know
bad
that
job by
looks bad,
Greeny. He's
but
got to reset.
I know,
mean,
but it's on television on the radio, so I really couldn't
The
tell.
lower third was doing the job. All the
Yeah,
heavy lifting.
and it just it ruined it for me. But this is what they were talking about, and so I don't want to assign the wrong thing to the wrong person. But they were talking about the Washington-Dallas game, and one of the things that they were saying is about the trenches, and now that December is about toughness, and December is about toughness, and that I think somebody dismissed the Cowboys and their skill guys as the skill guys and all that crap. All that crap. The skill
Wow.
guys, the finesse
sounds like
guys.
Bart Scott. to
As
me.
if CD Lamb and Amari Cooper are all that crap.
Yeah, it was
and
Bart.
the only way
Yeah.
to win the game is in the trenches with the toughness. And I ask you this based on what these people are doing in December.
What's the question?
The question is December
Bart or
Is
Lewis?
that
is
who
December
replaced you on
in
ESPN
football?
Radio? Yes, it is.
Is December in football decided by toughness?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
Saw it on
yeah.
Monday night.
Yeah, it's a marathon.
Yep.
Not a
Bills
sprint.
Patriots.
Always has been, always
Bodies
will
are-
be,
bodies
Dan.
are failing you.
Yep.
It's who is tougher.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked
Were the
the
Patriots
Packers.
not tougher than Buffalo?
Yes,
Did you
of
see
course.
it?
Right?
Right.
It's
Ran it right
I'm
down their
picking for Whitty
throats.
right now.
It's
All right,
solid
we gotta,
analysis.
Let's guys like crystal ball. Bring it in tight.
Okay, this is Whitty.
Swap.
helmet.
Oh, wow.
That's good for Whitty to have.
Yes.
That's terrible for us.
And the Falcons.
Who cares?
He's got the
Now,
swap.
that's technically the first pick, the first pool. You can put back the Falcons if you think that's a little unfair for someone to be saddled with.
If you'd like
Be
to
the
put
nice thing
that
to
back,
do.
it can be put back.
You
put
get
it back.
You get
Yeah,
two
the
picks
swap
on
is
what
just-
you're swapped.
Yeah, the swap, the
Yes.
first pool, it just you have to establish who you're swapping with. Yeah, that's always been the rule.
She's
there.
All right, I put it
keeping
back.
the swap, so she
Saints.
gets two picks
Yeah.
Again.
after.
All right.
No, I understand what Chris is saying. She selected the swap, then selected a second helmet.
Do we always give two picks?
That's
for the
always
swap?
been the case.
Okay.
I'm not
God.
totally
Alright.
sure.
I don't
It
think we
doesn't
have.
matter.
The
I don't
swap
want to do
doesn't.
this
When you pull the
anymore.
swap, it doesn't. It's not.
Well,
you're
Billy's
forced
in
to
charge
pull.
now,
Right,
though.
but
I
you
mean-
said
Well, it
I'm
was
keeping
really
the
my
swap, so
fault.
you then go in to get a helmet.
How is this still a thing?
It's always a thing.
No, I think you.
There's
I'm
might be
picking
wrong
for
on
me
this,
now.
All right.
No.
It was too fast. She picked for herself too fast. The Saints are a 5.5-point favorite.
All right, so
okay,
that's a good.
against the
helmet.
Jets on the road.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, and Jess pulled.
The Panthers,
Okay.
which I guess I could technically swap with myself on behalf of Whittingham.
No, you can't. Whittingham gets to use the swap. We've got to figure out.
He's not here right now.
Well, we have to wait and see
Can
what.
Jessica
She's the power
swap
of
with
attorney.
Jessica with Whittingham's helmet?
No. That is Whittingham's swap helmet. He gets to determine if he wants
But
to
I
swap.
picked it for him on behalf of him. He's
He
not
would be-
here
he
right
would be
now.
so upset if you
Ipso
did that.
facto, I get to choose who he swaps with. Whittingham and I are
Go to
good
Bob,
friends. He trusts my judgment on this, I think.
I don't think that this is
This
the way.
one's been particularly messy.
I'm putting the Panthers back though for me. This is Jess
Okay.
now.
For
Oh,
you.
for the love of
Okay.
God.
Well,
the
for
love
her,
of
she's
God,
putting it
but
back.
I
She's
don't-
entitled to do that.
First time the
Mhm.
bed ran out on this bit.
Fuck.
Really? Okay, that
Ah,
seems
the
to have
Jets,
gone
yeah.
poorly.
Been
That's
saying
what
that
the
for
Jets
40
do.
years, yeah.
Now, you didn't have the video of what happened, but you knew who she picked with the word that she used. That's what the Jets should put on their helmet. They just should just say, "Foop," just put it right on the helmet. Instead of JETSFUCK, just right there on the helmet.
I always get the Texans or the Jets every single effing week. And when I'm picking for Whitty, I get the Saints and the Packers. It doesn't make any sense.
And
a
the swap
swap
and
helmet.
the swap helmet.
I
Mike,
hate this thing.
Mike, go ahead and reach in there, and you have to do a swimsuit. What do you have to do? Swim gear on your head next week?
I will be Katie Ledecky next week.
Nice.
All right, I pulled the Colts with my first pull.
Bye week.
I will be keeping that. Wait a
Swapping
second.
it.
Hang on. Wait, the swap right now is the Saints. The Saints are favored at home. Yeah.
Favored by 5.5 against the Jets at home.
Okay, so I like it. I'll keep it.
Okay.
What is the game? Tell me what the game is.
He's got a bye week.
So the Colts have a bye week. Presumably, I'm lead dog right now to be swapped with. That's who I'd swap with, but it's a pretty decent situation swapping with the Saints. So.
The buys are the Colts, the Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Eagles.
Well, did you have to call Whittingham to decide who the swap is? Since
We have
I'm
to
not
wait
allowed
and
to
see.
do
We
it?
have to wait
Probably,
and see.
yes.
I'm picking for Billy here.
But get him on the phone. You're picking for Billy. This thing is
Well,
so
I have to.
so
I mean,
long.
Someone has to
We'll
pick
get him
for
on the
him.
phone after if you pull the golden helmet of life, I presume he'd want to swap with that. So let's hold our horses here.
Exactly.
Bring it in tight.
All right, here's Billy's pick.
We've never been able to do this tight.
Billy has the Seahawks.
The Seahawks are on the road at the Texans,
Oh.
a 7.5-point favorite at the Texans.
I'm going to keep that for Billy.
Go ahead and pick for yourself. Your rummage will be
pick for
more
Billy.
self-absorbed and
Dude,
longer.
rummaging.
That's been a good addition to the Grid of Death. Those sounds. I really like those.
Little
One
rummage.
connotes the first pull, the other one connotes the second pull, and finality. Really drives it home.
You guys figured out the producing on this segment. You figured it
Yeah,
out
figured
early.
it out.
Yeah, just after a couple of tries.
Got a helmet? Not a good one. It's going back. I don't care who they're
Lions
playing,
are at
even
the
if they have the
Broncos.
bye.
This
Lions
is an
are at
audio
the-
format. People need to.
Lions at the Broncos,
Lions.
8.5. It's always been the affliction of this segment. It's why I hate doing it, because I have to explain everything for everybody.
The affliction is
as
people
everyone else
forgetting
plays
how it
the
goes.
game.
Yeah,
Yes.
that Lions
Great
buys
fun.
you.
Rules are a little confusing.
8.5-point dog. The Lions are at the Broncos. He
All right,
got
here we
through
go.
that back. He continues to rummage just to annoy everyone.
Get that Lions
Yeah,
helmet
with
away
the
from me.
extra rummage. I hope he pulls the Lions helmet again.
The Bengals.
Okay, the Bengals are a 1.5-point dog at home against the 49ers.
Take it.
You said it with a flourish, and then you realized, okay, I'm a dog at home.
Why are they underdogs at home? I
knows?
mean,
Because-
it's the night football.
Point spread, George Kittle. I got the Bills.
Kittle. George Kittle. That's all we can
That's all I got.
The 49.
been a long
George,
week.
that's great analysis. That's why I'm so
it. He's
nervous.
playing-
George Kittle.
They're 6-5 when he's healthy.
What he
It's
said.
all you
Lacking
get.
conviction, George Kittle.
George
Is it or is it not the analysis?
No, that's
what it is. He had 2 tutties last week.
If he plays, he runs for 200 yards and they win. If he's injured, they're 4-12 or like 4-13 this year.
Good, Kittle.
It's how Berman would sound petering out saying George Kittle.
I can't find who. Oh, the Bills are at the Bucks. The Bucks are. Doesn't somebody else already? Didn't Cody have the Bills
Yeah, but he
from
put it
earlier this week?
He had the Bucks, but he put it back.
Yep.
And then he upgraded and got the Chiefs. So Bills, I imagine you're going to be putting that back, or you're going to roll with Josh Allen on the road against the Super Bowl champion.
You know what? I'll take
Rebound
the
game.
Bills. I'm going to take
Really?
the Bills against Tom
Whoa,
Brady.
wow.
Get it
Wow.
out of here.
On
Yeah.
behalf of
Amazing.
Chris Whittingham, I would like to swap with Mike and give Mike the Saints and give Whittingham the bye.
Understood.
I am taking the Bills simply because football, because everything that I bet, everything I think is going to happen, the other thing happens.
Wow, but
Yeah,
that's
but the one
against the spread.
consistent
That's
over
straight
time
up.
has been Brady.
It is, and I've been, and he continues to make me wrong and make it another weekend where people can say, Dan said the thing about Brady. He dared to pick a 3.5-point dog in a sport that's impossible to predict because the last time this team played, it did so in 150-mile-an-hour winds. And now we think they're bad. We think the Bills are now bad because they played in 150-mile-an-hour winds and lost to Belichick just running the ball.
Maybe you shouldn't have thrown the ball 30 times then. Just saying.
I could do the second one here just so you could see what I would have gotten. You guys seem to like that
Yeah,
every once
please,
in a
yeah,
while.
please
What
make
I
this
would have
longer.
gotten if I hadn't taken the Bills, I would have gotten the Bills again.
Wow. Meant to be.
I would have had the Bills in my hand in the bucket, and then I would have gotten, I'm assuming, a Saints helmet with no face mask, or maybe the golden helmet of life.
Is that the golden helmet of life?
It's
or
got
is
some
that Lee
writing on
Corso?
the side
see?
that I can't read.
Is that Lee Corso now, or is that thank you for your service?
I think it's thank you for your service. It's Army-Navy
Army,
weekend.
Navy week. That would have been
Wow.
something on your unprecedented third pool.
Doesn't the Army-Navy game make you guys sad?
No, I love it. I love the montage too. And then there's John. I'm a Navy man. That's where my grandfather served. So I always root for Navy there. And they put together
Yeah.
the montage. And there's John McCain in the locker room. He's like, go out there, beat Army. I'm like, oh, goosies.
The reason I say it's kind of sad isn't just because it's a lesser form of football. It's because it means college football is kind of over.
Bowl season is
It
But
starting.
I do get
know,
into
but,
it.
But it means, yes, bowl season is starting, but now they just give you 1 or 2 here or there. Army and Navy signals a shift, like the winter's coming in. These battle guys are coming in and they're going to run the hell out of the football. And now you're going to get to a slower, sadder bowl season until one big burst on a holiday when you've had too much to drink. You're going to be watching 8 straight games.
I do miss Keenan Reynolds, though. I must admit, I miss seeing like a player that I know to be good. I can't name you a player from Navy or Army right now, but I know the style, and styles make fights.
And in these styles, who among them this year, who has been the offensive force from among all of those teams? Air Force won a game where they didn't throw a pass. Navy, Army trying to run the ball.
Air Force plays Louisville this weekend. I mean, first responder bowl.
That's this weekend?
Yeah.
Already there's a bowl game?
I believe so, yeah.
No, are you reading the internet wrong?
Perhaps.
Is there a
It's
bowl
on the
game?
list here, though.
Is there a bowl game immediately?
No, that might be like the next available thank you for your service opportunity.
Oh,
yeah,
see.
I doubt that there's no bowl games this weekend. There can't possibly.
Bahamas Bowl kicks it off
Yeah, when?
next Friday.
There you go. That's $5.
Is it really?
Read the internet wrong. You didn't come to my honor the way that you alleged you would.
Well, that's, I was planning on it, and then I sensed that perhaps there's a chance of me getting on College Game Day. And
There's no shot.
No, I
You
think
think
there's
you're
a
gonna go on
chance.
College Game Day? I can't get a fucking credit.
Mike, what happens here with Stugotz and the producing of Stugotz and STUpodity and whatever
What
the
happened?
frustrations are?
Magic.
What did you want Stugotz to do that he got wrong on STUpodity, as he got all the details wrong about what he's doing this
his
weekend with the
timelines-
tennis player?
His timelines were all wrong. He called the tennis player Russian. He's American. It's just, and I told him that, and he's like, Russian sounds more intimidating. I'm like, I think that's racist.
A 7-foot Russian. He wants to be able to say he's going to a tennis match against a 7-foot Russian. He doesn't want to be a 7-foot American.
I had the bear on, okay, Chris Felica, and he's very into tennis, and Mike knows this. And so I was asking him, what are my chances of returning a serve from a 7-foot Russian who serves 168 miles per hour? And now, listen, perhaps, I thought Mike had said a 7-foot Russian, but you would agree a 7-foot.
Never said that.
I thought you did.
What is
No, I said 7-foot tennis player.
I thought you said a Ruski.
Why did you
His
tell
name
us?
is Riley.
Sorry about that. That's a Russian name. It is.
Riley?
Yeah, look it up. It's one of the most popular first names in Russia.
Look it up.
It
There
is.
it is.
Look it
I
up,
don't know
you're
how
wrong.
you pronounce it in Russia. It's not Riley. It's something else, but it's a very popular name. I'm telling you, USSR.
Look it up. What?
They haven't been that.
USSR?
What happened?
USSR? Look it
They
up.
broke up.
Oh, they did.
Stugotz,
It's too bad.
No, it's not. Just
it's
stop
not
talking.
too bad. It's
That's
not
what
too
breakup
bad.
is always sad.
It's not too bad that the USSR broke up, Stugotz. You are at your laziest and worst, and you can find
I
it all
love it.
on STUpodity. I love it. Riley the Russian, he's going to take serves from. That's what you can find on STUpodity. Mike, how frustrated were you getting as you tried to listen to everything that we're putting out and your mind goes crazy melting because Stugotz won't get basic information right?
I mean, a lot of it he lucked out. He's like, yeah, no, I think they hired the AD. They hadn't, but by the time it gets published, okay, sure. His timelines are all messed up when it comes to the Herbie game day thing. It was frustrating to listen to and not hear him checked.
Regardless,
He called
Produce
it
it, I mean.
he called an American a Russian.
Yeah. You told me after the fact.
I didn't tell you. I said his name yesterday.
Oh, that's a good point.
Did it
You
during
fucking
the
sound
segments
Russian?
that you
Totally
don't
fair.
listen to
Yeah.
because you listen to 8% of the show, but
Yeah.
you nod at 100% of
It
it.
didn't sound Russian at all.
No.
Riley Opelka does not sound Russian.
Well, I mean,
Sounds closer to Irish than Russian.
what's the last name?
Yeah, there's no apostrophe, but it does kind of sound like Irish. Certainly not Russian or Soviet like you had it.
Regardless, we will have video of Stugotz taking 160 mile an hour serves to the balls from someone who's not from the USSR, which it is not unfortunate that the USSR broke up. I now want to read to you because Stugotz is not sophisticated.
Check out STUpodity, newest episode with
STUpodity.
Chris
Thank you for the
Felica.
promotion,
for,
boys.
for the height of factual errors. If you want alternate facts, Meadowlark Media does not provide in the echo chamber that is Meadowlark Media. Enough alternate facts for some of you. If you want alternate facts, Stugotz has them for you on STUpodity. Outkick with STUpodity.
How good though, Mike, was the bear sneezing? I mean, how good was that?
It was good. There are some devices, but you told me headed into it you were gonna ride Felica because ESPN didn't credit me.
Right.
And you just started. It became a vintage Stugotz chuckle fest where that was omitted. But thankfully, there are local media entities that actually did credit me.
This is good. This is good right here. Well, Stugotz, this is it.
I said Herb Street was taking victory laps with your information. Felica was very offended by that.
That's where it died. You didn't push anywhere.
Well, then we got the College Game Day and me perhaps being the celebrity guest picker for the Orange Bowl.
And they don't credit me. They won't put you on game day. But thankfully, a local TV channel, NBC6, did credit me.
Before you get to that, though, because this is funny sound, I do want to rummage around in here as Stugotz mutters under his breath, "We'll see" at you. We'll see whether I'm on College Game Day again as a picker. I just want to see how quickly he went from allegedly defending your honor, I'm going to fight with the bear, to rolling over on his back. What can I get out of this situation? I'm talking to somebody with power. Let me roll over onto my back, chuckle fest, and not defend you at all, defend anything. Just try to get on the set, secretly back on the set of ESPN where I never wanted to leave in the first place.
What?
I mean, Felica had Mark Richt fired after the Orange Bowl. It was just... timelines were all kind of screwy. But WTVJ locally, NBC6, they credited me on
which one are you playing?
Report here. I'm playing something from, I'm playing the funny one, Dan. Playing the funny one. Now, some anchors had, we've learned throughout the years that Dan's last name might be a struggle if you're reading it for the first time. And some anchors succeeded, and some anchors failed when trying to give me credit for the Dan Radakovich story.
Radakovich earned a master's degree from UM back in the early 80s. Mike Ryan Ruiz of Dan LeBatard show first reported on the story.
The Dan and Dan LeBatard show. It's such a better show than the one that we do. I want to change all our imaging to the Dan and Dan LeBatard show.
And Dan LeBatard show first reported on the story.
First reported on this story, Mike Ryan Ruiz of the Dan LeBatard show.
Dan LeBatard show first reported on the story.
Congratulations, Mike! You finally got your credit. Does it feel like you imagined it would feel? The getting of credit, the staple of the Stugotz.
Not where he wanted the credit from, though.
The staple of the Stugotz argument for 20 years on why coaches should make decisions in sports is, what are they going to say on sports media about who gets the credit?
I did tweet out that the credit didn't matter to me, but then as the days unfolded and like ESPN's approach specifically, I realized that it mattered a little bit, because working there, I know how it goes when they get beat on a story. They have good reporters, and if they get beat, it's because they didn't quite get to it first, but they would have reporters that would be right there right afterwards, or at the very least be able to independently verify a story. So the game that ESPN plays is, all right, if you came close enough, we'll give it to you. But I beat them by days on not just Cristobal, but also Radakovich, and just nothing there. And it made me feel like it was with purpose.
Let me ask you this question, because I was going to respond to your tweet when you said, and it was syrupy and it was sweet and it was emotional, and I think it's true, but I also think you were wearing a bit of a mask when you sent it out. I'm not interested in credit. I'm just interested in helping the program. The credit of this does not matter who broke the story. But this is the validator that ESPN is the worldwide leader in sports, and it leads me to a different conversation that I want to have with you guys about something that Ethan Strauss has written about Adrian Wojnarowski. But it's not just that they have the corner on credibility covered journalistically and as a courtesy to others. Now that others are breaking news, you probably should credit where news is coming from, but they used to be able to get or have an army of people, of reporters, where somebody could get their own source and they could report it themselves. I don't know what happened here. Mike was so inside that he was days ahead of everybody else on what it is that was happening here, and they ignored him, like if he was shouting into a well. And Like if his credibility is less than theirs, does not matter. His credibility did not rise sufficiently to the place where they were willing to say that Mike Ryan Ruiz of the Dan LeBatard show. They will not even mention the Dan LeBatard show on ESPN. They will not give the Dan LeBatard show the credit that it deserves, and it leads me to this Ethan Strauss article.
But a couple hours later, like after I reported, then their reporters venture into the waters, and they kind of half-effort it, which is kind of a cosign of my reporting. So at that point, why not just say, as first reported by? I didn't think it would matter to me, but especially with the Radakovich one, because that was legitimately days.
But I was going to write back in the middle of what you were saying, where I don't want the credit, as saying there's something in here. I didn't want to hurt your feelings because I didn't know how sensitive you actually were. There's something in here that feels a little defensive about not wanting credit, when of course you want to be validated for some good work that you did. You don't have to choose between, I just want to feel good about helping the program. You've been walking the line, slalom coursing very well between, I'm a booster, I'm biased, journalism doesn't matter, but I'm going to try and do some real reporting here.
Yeah, to clarify it for really UM fans, because there was a lot of, like last Thursday, I think some in the national media, and there were good reporters, and their sources were legit, but they were sources that were spurned by the search firm. And so they were putting out this whole garbage about Miami being a mess. And I specifically went out there and clarified, and my network started growing because it was a true story. No, Miami's not the mess. Miami got its 2 top targets. Clemson's a mess. OU's a mess. FSU's a mess. Miami's not this mess, and you're just getting your information from somebody with an agenda.
But Stugotz, this is why I wanted, this is one of the reasons I know much of the audience is sick of this entire thing with us and Cristobal. But I specifically
This is about Mike, though.
Well, but
this is about the reporting of it.
One of the reasons, though, Stugotz, look, man, for the discerning among you, maybe you see it anyways, okay? But maybe it has to be pointed out sometimes on a plate. You've seen what's happened recently with Schefter and the leaked emails on how these jobs are done, Stugotz. Mike was so deep. I have obsessed on this story, not just because it's the local one I care about and a Cuban kid coming back to Miami and local hour matters to me and all that stuff. But I have obsessed about this story because I want you to see from the inside what it feels like to be actually and really informed, because we've been talking about this for about a year. Matt Sullivan sort of pointed out to us by writing that Nets book, hey, the coverage that you get in the NBA from quote unquote insiders isn't actually inside. It's a glossing version of how close the access can get to the real fame. But when Matt Sullivan writes that book, you're like, whoa, that's honest and real, so much so that you guys thought that can't be real. How have we not read it? And in the trafficking of information in what used to be journalism, this is what Ethan Strauss is writing, and I want to get to it because we are now seeing what I've asked you for a while. How do Schefter and Woj do that? How do you go and beat armies of reporters on every beat, ostensibly, when they should care as much as Mike talking to people, developing sources? How do they go into every market and beat every guy who's doing the work that or woman that Mike has been doing? I wanted you, the audience, to see from the inside. As Mike's reporting this, deep inside, you saw all the agendas play out as the press was used, Stugotz, by jilted candidates, by people trying to look good. You saw by versions of the truth that weren't truth. It was gossip and whisper about Miami search party, a mess, because everybody who wanted that job or was angling for the power who lost had to get their stories out there in a way that made them look less bad. And now,
same with the Board of Trustees stuff. That's really what started it. I'm like, this is just flatly untrue. That was when I kind of stopped just taking what I heard and just settling with it and just seeing the agendas and saying, no, this is a problem. This is just, it's not that it's bad reporting because it's credible sources. It's just not the full story.
Oh, but there's a division. And this is why I tell you that business reporting is so poorly covered in sports and why it's so refreshing to hear Sampson and Skipper talk honestly about it on South Beach sessions, because you're like, oh, this is what expertise and thorough sounds like. Oh, you guys actually know what you're talking about. It's not this glossy superficiality of we're covering business reporters based on what business people are telling us because it's what they want us to think, because the CEOs can actually manipulate the media. But this is what brings me to the Ethan Strauss story. And if you've not checked out House of Strauss on the Substack, you should. I just called it the Substack.
It's okay. Push through it. Don't apologize.
Fine.
If you haven't checked it out, this is the kind of work that he's doing after leaving ESPN that is worthy of supporting if you believe in the idea of free and independent thinkers who are smart and doing journalism, as many creators are finding on Substack that they can have a more direct-to-consumer access with truth-telling that doesn't have to be hindered by agendas and motives. And Ethan Strauss has been doing a lot of good work for a long time and covered the Warriors thoroughly and basically got bored with sports and it's like, I could write about bigger and better things. But every once in a while, a sports curiosity grabs him. And because he comes from NBA Twitter, this is what he writes, Stugotz. And I want to ask you, what needs to happen for you to read the rest of this? Because this is paid subscription, and in the modern age, when people get curious, they expect it for free. They do not want to sign up. They don't want to pay for anything. They don't want to give you their email address. So I ask you, when Ethan Strauss writes this on his Substack, or as I like to call it, the Substack, I don't want to write about Adrian Wojnarowski all the time, but he's one of the most powerful sports journalists. He's also a perpetually interesting character, a driven conqueror who plays by his own rules. But I don't want to write about him because, cards on the table, he's rumored to have gotten me fired from ESPN back in 2017. I actually don't know if he did that, but there are enough people who believe that I believe he did. And so attempts at dispassionate Woj analysis can be interpreted as petty bitterness. And yet, what can you do? If you're into the dynamics of ESPN NBA, meaning the entire digital version of ESPN's NBA coverage, it's hard to discuss without talking Woj. And in the aftermath of his big column on Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers, there's so much to discuss. Now, Woj with LeBron, I don't know if you remember, back when he was with Yahoo, he was writing the most scathing of stories written anywhere about LeBron and a management team that has now taken over sports and Hollywood. Scathing. Like nobody was hammering LeBron James like Woj was. And now Damian Lillard is objecting to, I didn't read what Woj wrote, Mike. Did you read what Woj wrote that got NBA Twitter and Lillard all mad?
The Oshie propaganda piece, at least that was the accusation that was levied. It was putting their former Portland, am I pronouncing his last name right? I don't know. I've never actually heard it pronounced. But it really framed him in a positive light, and it was touting all the playoff appearances that he had, which wasn't really the job. They didn't need help doing that. It was put them over, and it kind of put some of the blame on Damian Lillard. And Damian Lillard also, I think, quote tweeted someone alluding to the propaganda piece, and he co-signed it. There are agendas, and when you ask how Schefter and Woj get their information, we all know they're in good with certain aspects of it, but it's not often cross-referenced. That it's a truth, but it's a version of it. But
management
of the truth.
and no, but this is something that has afflicted journalism my entire lifetime in it. The reporters who have the access to the power tend to be older because they have the relationships with the people who are older. So much of what is written is from management's perspective and helps shape the way fans look at labor.
Well, they have relationships with the older people and the people who were in power. And so I understand. But, Dan, the players don't need a reporter anymore.
Not anymore.
Right.
But if they used to need a reporter, the place they would check in is not with the guy Woj's age. If there were people who looked like them in their locker room, you might have found more athlete stories from young reporters. And you're finding all of that now as the players and the young people can take over a guerrilla style, their own media.
Yeah, there are people that have done it with multiple sources, and I'm sure Schefter and Woj would push back at the notion that they don't have players that are sources. It's just the amount, like the level of player and the quantity that we're talking about. Shams has sources not just within management, not just within the agent community, but very clearly because of some of the pieces he's done. He also has player perspective too,
but he's also 26 or 27
so he relates
years
more
old.
with the players.
This is what
Jay Glazer was a younger guy, and he developed most of his relationships through players. And he was really the first that had multiple. I guarantee you, Jay Glazer, if he truly were interested, would be the single greatest information guy. And he would break everything. The amount of stories that Jay Glazer has chosen to not break.
He's probably chosen not to break more stories than most people
Just had a friendship,
in
but
the-
just he doesn't care about
Right.
that.
Well, he
Right.
cares. He's doing. Look, Jay Glazer is working on a lot of mental health stuff. He's working with a lot of military stuff. Jay Glazer has gone from stand-up comic to realizing that the information business, he's made it already, right? He's friends with all of these guys. But you're right. Jay Glazer, if he wanted to, could have trafficked in player currency as the only guy getting his information from the players, because most of these insiders are doing it through management.
Well,
and
wasn't he doing it
agents.
for a while though, Glazer?
If you
Before
watch, if you watch what he does on Fox, it's actually brilliant because he doesn't give a shit about Odell Beckham to the Rams first tweet out. He cares about when he's on TV, giving you the proper context to how things went about. What was the decision at play? And he does that because he builds relationships with individual players and agents and all that. And he makes them feel like, I'm not interested in being the news breaking guy. I'll do that occasionally, but I just want the context here. I want to know what the truth is. I don't want to be first. I want to be most right.
Well, let me ask you guys this question. I know some of you are going to be bored by the going on the parsing of layers of journalism. But Jay Glazer is credible, at least in part, because I believe I'm going to get from him the most thorough version of the story. Now, that doesn't mean you can't be compromised by whatever your biases and whatever your relationships are. But what you're describing and the way Jay Glazer has chosen to do his job suggests to me a real confidence. The breaking of news stuff, to me, the need to break news to be first on the stuff, I think feeds like almost a pathological insecurity. I can't even imagine what the job is like to need to be first on everything. To me, it seems like, I told you this before, it seems like I'm scared of it, like a way to live that, man, really, I can't go to sleep at 11 o'clock without being worried that something happened at 3 a.m. that someone else is reporting and that I'm behind. Like, I would not want to live in that space. And it seems like Jay Glazer has outgrown it.
Not fun. It was not fun getting a text at 4:35 that threatened possibly the undoing of an entire
But
situation.
Glazer's
It's
done
not a
it,
fun
Dan.
place
He's
to
been
live in.
through it. He got tired of it. He made a lot of money doing it. He gained a lot of fame doing it. Now he's on to bigger and better things. That's it. He did do it for a while.
But it represents growth is what I'm saying. And the next step on this is, what do I need to do to get you to read that Ethan Strauss story? I don't speak the question to you because I can't do anything to get you to read anything or to pay for anything.
Right.
But to follow that story, that's one of the preeminent NBA authority writers telling you, I'm going to give you a secret look here into Woj, who people say got me fired from ESPN, but you've got to pay to see it. Are you going to go over the paywall? Are you going to steal someone's password or have somebody, you're going to send have Whittingham send it to you and send you a Cliff Notes version and then just have me tell you what it said?
Does he make finals predictions? Little power rankings. Top 5 PGs, point guards, Dan. Little shooting guards, SGs, SFs, small forwards. Top 5 PFs, power forwards, and top 5 Cs. How about a mock draft? Little Hall of Fame, little personal record book, little trade machine, little, draft, mock draft 23, 24, 25.
Really? You're running out of material.
Who's the best high school player in the country? Rank them in order. Tell me about them. I mean, little fantasy waiver wire pickup, Dano, and I probably still wouldn't buy it.
There are 3 stories here that I've wanted to get to. There is a story about Jeremy Strong, the lead actor in Succession, who's a method actor, and the details in it are insane and seem unnecessary, but it's a great show, and I'd like to talk about that story. There's a Santa Claus shortage in December, which sounds horrible. It is harder and harder. The pandemic has changed a lot of things, Stugotz, and also getting labor is harder and harder at the low end of pay. And evidently we've got a Santa Claus shortage in this country, people willing to do it and do it on the cheap. And I wanted to get to New England banning cigarettes, basically, for a generation of people. Not New England, I'm sorry, New Zealand.
Right.
Banning, you'd never get away with that in New England. In New Zealand, they're banning cigarettes, basically a generation. They want to be smoke-free in 2025, so you will not be able to buy cigarettes anymore. But before I get to any of those stories, all of which I'd like to talk about, I have to tell the audience what Mike Ryan and I just witnessed.
What happened?
As Stugotz waddled on the way to the bathroom, just shoveling popcorn into his face and muttering under his breath some form of Goodman killed the show, killed the vibe of the show. And not only this, like if it were just that, it'd be one thing, because he's mad at Joseph Goodman for ruining the fun of Thursday and killing the vibe and energy with what he called either his rambling or yammering. But before saying any of this, no lie, a man who just gave us 20 minutes of his time to talk about a book that he worked in a cabin for a long time to master his craft. I walked in on Stugotz trying to throw that book into a garbage can. A new book, a brand new book that had not been opened, a man's work. I walked in on Stugotz and I had to grab, the lid was open and I had to grab the book from him to get him from, you saw this, Mike. Am I saying anything?
He didn't sell me on it, so I was going to throw it in the garbage.
Yeah, but you weren't even aware that it was the Goodman that you just spoke to. Like, I thought what you were doing was a bit.
Right.
But what you were doing something, if you had realized what was going on, would have been real asshole behavior.
Right.
And I know you to be a lot of things, asshole being one of them, but not that big of an asshole.
Right. Well, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. It's a nice compliment.
And Dan sincerely was, no, I want to read that.
Right.
And you're like, bah, oh, Goodman, bah, bah. And you just kept hovering it over the trash can.
In the garbage.
Dan had to physically get it away from your hands as you were hovering over an open trash can.
Listen, I'm telling you, we had a vibe, a flow. We were having fun. It felt like a Thursday, and then Goodman came on. And then all of a sudden, the Thursday felt like a Monday. I mean,
I don't think that Stugotz is necessarily wrong, even though that's what Goodman does.
Are you speaking for a segment of the audience?
I don't even know which Goodman I'm talking about.
I think he speaks for a lot of the audience. It's why Stugotz always put it on the poll, Chris. Is that what Goodman does?
I was about to ask him about Wildcat Hoops. I mean,
not Jeff Goodman.
Oh, it should have been.
A good popcorn, though, right?
Oh, skinny popcorn.
I wish you guys had seen it, though, because he had like 20 pieces of it in one hand, and he's throwing it into his mouth, and inevitably,
That's how you eat it.
Not all of it is making it into his mouth. It's just...
Yeah, that's the fun of popcorn, Dan. You just throw a bunch in your mouth. Some gets in, some doesn't. You open up another bag.
Put it on the poll, please, Chris Cody at LeBatard Show. How do you eat popcorn? Do you eat it one at a time, or do you purposely just throw it at your face?
I'm a 3 at a time kind of guy.
Yeah.
You do the little 4-finger pinch where you end up with 3.
Yeah. How'd you feel about Goodman?
Who, Jeff?
Oh. Book.
Tell me more about the 4-finger pinch.
Or are you doing 3 at a time?
I was talking to Chris, not Mike.
Someone give me a bag of popcorn. Here, come here, Jess.
What is the correct way to eat popcorn?
Here we go.
The correct way. Hold on. Let's do this correctly. This is both a video and it's not going to really work as an audio joke, I don't think.
Describe what you're doing right now, Chris Cody.
It looks like a little, is it?
Are you throwing
was it chicken feet, pig's feet? Like,
are you throwing a two-seamer?
No, not a two-seamer would be here. It's like a fork ball. I got my thumb at the bottom, my middle finger, my ring finger, my pointer finger.
Oh wow, your hand is a bit of a spatula right now.
Right there.
Your hand,
spatula. The flat part of the spatula would be on top, essentially here.
Right, and you're going to go in there and scoop it. You're going to scoop it out.
You go in, you pinch, you come out with 3 every time. It's like science. You can't not come out with 3 kernels. Boom, into the mouth. Oh, beautiful thing.
And you don't miss any of them. You've mastered
no throwing
it.
into the mouth.
There's no throwing.
No inefficiency.
Tony took out 5 with the same technique.
He's got bigger hands, though.
Of course he does.
That's impressive.
Wait, Roy, you're saying it was more than 3?
Yeah, it was more than 3.
Something tells me Jess doesn't want this back after
I need a new
my
bag.
paw's been in it.
Mine's on the floor.
Stugotz is empty, and most of his popcorn is on the floor because Stugotz does throw it at his face. He had and Stugotz, you don't count. You're not doing the same number every time. You're just taking a big handful. You're reaching in, you're rummaging, and then you throw it in your face.
The popcorn reaches the palm of Stugotz's hand. The popcorn never reaches the palm of my hand. It's always in the fingers.
Right. I like it in the palm, and I like to throw it in my mouth as I'm walking away. I say something, I walk away, I throw it in my mouth as I'm walking down the hallway.
When the popcorn is going from the palm to the mouth, that's when you have spillage.
Right.
What about an open hand that turns into a fist in a bigger receptacle, right? And then you enclose the popcorn, and then you make a cup, and then you just start throwing them back like.
And you put your hand back and forth until all of it gets in your mouth?
Yeah, like this. Like
Please stop making those gestures. Thank you. Roy, how would you guys eat popcorn?
Oh, definitely
What do you mean,
handful.
you
You gotta go.
guys?
Roy, there was Roy and La Esquina Cochina, and there was a whole corner
Oh,
of the
that
room
corner.
that we
Yeah.
had not gotten to. And I thank you for pointing that out. I was
Yeah.
so disoriented by Mike's gesture and then him just leaving the Zoom entirely.
you tricked me into that.
Roy, yes, you
What was
were.
the gesture? I didn't see it.
Not, that's better that way. Roy, can you tell me how you eat popcorn?
Yeah, it's a whole big old handful. It's like a backhoe with my hand. Just a backhoe.
My first word when I was a baby. Backhoe.
backhoe. Yeah, backhoe. Just
Hell yeah.
put it right there in the bowl. Get like at least 30 to 40 kernels of popcorn. Just,
How does it go in your mouth?
30
Yeah.
to 40.
yeah, I'm exaggerating there.
Ooh, that popcorn is good. I'm gonna have some.
Oh, it's kettle corn,
It's
right?
good.
It's
There's kettle
corn?
and regular.
Oh, it's a mix?
Wait, Mike, can you give me more kettle?
Wow.
Jessica, what is your first word? What is?
We've been over this, Dan. My first word when I was a baby was backhoe.
I have not talked about this with you. This is not a conversation you and I have had about. Why
Must
was
have been
it-
mystery crate.
Why was it a backhoe?
I think it was on this show. I don't know, but when I was a baby, my first word was backhoe, and I think it was because I had a toy backhoe.
Roy, you're saying that your hand works because the way that Chris is reaching into a bag of popcorn, it feels to me like a gardening tool that I don't know the name of. It feels the way he's doing this is very sophisticated and it's very efficient. If I told the audience how he's doing this, I suspect that some people might change their popcorn eating game because Chris Cody is offering you a utensil as his hand where he always gets 3 pieces of popcorn and you can eat it less sloppily as the slob Stugotz here who just shovels it all into his face.
I just tried it, the 4-finger pinch. I mean, Chris is a genius when it comes to how to eat certain foods.
How to
He really
how
is.
to consume
Yes.
more calories efficiently.
Now, listen, I'm not getting 3 every time. It's somewhere between 3 and 5 when I do the 4-finger pinch.
What is that tool, Chris? What is it called? The 3-fingered gardening tool of some sort. Mike, you need to stop doing that. It's disconcerting to me every
Eating
time.
popcorn.
It looks like a little bit of it's called a hand rake.
He's doing the thing you do with like Skittles, where you like shake them, or like M&Ms, like shake them,
That's
right,
how I eat
Stugotz?
them. Yeah.
It is nice to create that little tunnel with your hand, and anything can go into your mouth from there.
Backhoe was also Charlotte Wilder's first word, Dan.
Really?
Love a hand tunnel.
Tying the loop on that from today's show.
Wow.
A good hand tunnel.
Why does it always keep coming back to Charlotte Wilder, no matter what it is that we're talking about? Like, what? Why does?
She should tie that binds down. Probably Wilder.
Skinny popcorn, man.
Really
Real
good.
talent.
Mike, show me that hand tunnel again. There you go. Oh, we like that fun.
The only one right now in my life of an appointment show on Sunday I want to watch. I want to make sure that I'm in front of the television because I think it's very artful what it is they're doing. And in the last episode, I thought that they really explained a whole lot of relationships and family drama. And I just think it's a very well done show. But there was an article about Jeremy Strong in Succession, the lead actor, Kendall Roy, who is very good, as all the acting in this is very good. I did not even know. I think 2 of the main actors are Australian, and I did not know that. Like, have Australian accents, and you wouldn't know it from the way that they're acting.
Aussies.
But Jeremy Strong, what were the interesting stories that you guys, he's a method actor. And remember, we talked about this one other time, Stugotz, and you're always saying, Daniel Day-Lewis, get over yourself. Because in My Left Foot for a month or 6 weeks or whatever, he lived his life only using his left foot. Like, and he became like a cobbler in Italy or something for a while for a role. Like, just really immerses himself in these things in a way that is a bit crazy. Jeremy Strong is evidently a method actor, but I don't see that his acting is that much better than anyone else who's acting on that show. It's high-end acting, but I don't think of his acting as that.
I kind of disagree. I thought so, and then I read what he had to say about him being offended that people thought it was a comedy, because that's how I thought he was kind of playing it. And it made me really disappointed to learn that that wasn't his intention behind it.
I don't know as I watch it if it's a comedy or a drama. I don't know how to classify it. It's sort of like, honest to God, Mike, this is a funny conversation to have. Adam McKay has got a giant movie coming out. Don't Look Up. And it is about serious subject matter, but it's Adam McKay of, Step Brothers and Kenny Powers and Talladega Nights. And it's hard to classify his movie. He has to go in the comedy genre because he doesn't want to confuse people. But he's making a serious movie, a serious, artful movie about climate change that has to be filed under comedy to make people absorb it and tolerate it and have it be palatable. But Succession, I don't know if it's a comedy or a drama.
Well, I think the best shows right now are the things that bend the genders. The genres, not genders. I think like Succession is a comedy and a drama. Like we talked about Only Murders in the Building a few weeks ago, maybe months ago now. That's something that's a comedy and a murder mystery. Knives Out, same thing. Like the best shows right now are to me both things. But my question for you, Dan, like the Jeremy Strong profile made it seem like he has way more similarities with the character Kendall than most people probably knew. And I was always coming from it as like, wow, he's a really great actor. I've changed my mind. He's not acting. He is Kendall Roy. He takes everything way too seriously and doesn't realize that everything around him is a circus.
Well, what can you tell the audience for the people who have not read the story? And I have not gotten to the story. I've just seen some of the excerpts, so I don't have the context that it's in. Is it the New Yorker? The New York magazines are still doing some fairly amazing work, and a lot of people, because Succession is so popular, they're consuming as much as they can of whatever they can, and you're being introduced to somebody's star turn because he's going to be able to make the kinds of movies that he wants and do the kind of acting he wants. He's become a thespian now because this is his star turn, and this show is that kind of popular. He'll be able to choose what he wants, I am assuming, from here. But it was disappointing to be like, oh, you're a thespian. You're not in on the joke. You're taking this seriously. I was bummed by that portion of it.
Yeah, it was a really great profile by Michael Schulman in the New Yorker. And essentially, he talked to a lot of actors, including Brian Cox, who all kind of said the same thing, which is that like he doesn't turn off his character when they're not taping. Like he will go to extremes to play this character, and that he learned a lot of it from his like idol Daniel Day-Lewis, who's like one of the most famous method actors of all time, right? So I don't know. I left people with a weird feeling about Jeremy Strong, I think, in that like he is someone who takes himself too seriously, and people don't like people who take themselves too seriously, I think. And then afterwards, there was some backlash from people who really liked Jeremy Strong and said that he's great to work with. He's like a good person, et cetera, and that the profile was a little one-sided. So it
takes the craft very seriously.
Yeah.
Maybe
He's also got a punchable face.
Oh, no,
he
doubt
does.
about
That's
it.
part of that's great casting on their part. But I'm like, do I get this show better than one of its stars? That's what I came away with. I'm like, does he know what they're going for here?
Or is he like so entrenched in this role that he gave this interview as Kendall Roy? Because he says, like the header of the article says, I take him as seriously as I take my own life. I'm like, that is really something Kendall would say. Like, it's crazy.
But one of the things that I love about the show is that at the height of what it is that you're watching, which is wealth, opulence, and they tell media stories here and corporate stories and just some of the grotesque selfishness that permeates basically everything you're seeing happening in America right now, from the Murdochs to all of it. Like it seems like this is the Murdochs story that is being told in some caricature form, but the kernel at the center of it, to me, that makes it art is just like, oh, these are just family dynamics. This is just family stuff. It's what you have to be as a father to be a cold corporate conqueror who will use even his kids as pawns as they try to just stumble around for his affection, his understanding. And I thought the last episode really sort of pulled back everything on like, oh, this is how these kids were formed. These kids were formed by a mother who's awful and a father who's awful, and what they got in their house was not love, and they've got all the money in the world, and look at how broken they all are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I don't want to spoil anything from the last episode, but what happens in the second to last beat of the episode with Roman, if you're not like, that is supposed to be funny. If you're not coming away with that with like, oh my God, that is an objectively hilarious thing to happen to like potentially take down this family and this company. Like it is.
But how is there a
gold.
guy who's entrenched in the show, the star of the show, and he doesn't know it's funny? We all do, but he doesn't know that. That seems crazy to me.
I don't. Maybe it's not funny when it's your own life. Like I could see why his character wouldn't think that it's funny.
Oh, but no, wait a minute. I think a lot of people watch Succession and just can appreciate it. You could have no sense of humor and watch Succession and think it's beautiful and not have to think that it's funny or laugh one time at anything, dark humor or otherwise. You could watch it and it would be an entertaining show. I think what you're bringing up, two things that are being brought up here that are interesting. One of them is the genre bending or merging of genres, because why do you have to stick to just one? But some of this stuff changed with HBO, Tony Soprano, the anti-hero and loving characters that aren't lovable. And it ties into the thing that we're analyzing with Jeremy Strong, which is I don't know enough about James Gandolfini and his life, just in rewatching the beauty and the artistry of what that show was and the arc of what he went from in season 1 to season 6, when it was like his body, his life, everything changed in those 6 years of that kind of fame, Stugotz, and it made him deeply unhappy because the character, I don't know if the character killed James Gandolfini, the actor, but he was deeply unhappy, had drug dependency issues, would not show up for things, and then feel so terrible that he had done that to his entire cast that he'd buy them these enormous gifts because of what his dependency was. And when you can sink this deep into these characters, there's actually danger in Jeremy Strong seeing himself too deeply in this character. I don't know enough about Gandolfini to know if Tony Soprano killed him, but it felt like it. It felt like everything that happened, he never had another role. That was the character he had to be. He was being beloved by America for being a truly awful human being.
It defined him. It became him. Yeah. It became all people wanted from him.
But were you guys disappointed by hearing Jeremy or seeing Jeremy Strong describe this? Like, I was disappointed being like, oh, you don't get your own show.
To a degree. I'm fascinated by method actors, though. How someone assumed there were these stories about how weird Heath Ledger was to hang out with when he was doing the Joker role. Christian Bale, he's not fully method, but if you see him at a press junket or they're getting stuff for behind the scenes on a DVD, he's still constantly talking in the accent that he is assuming for the role. So I find becoming somebody and that being the process fascinating. I do think the show is purposefully humorous at times, and I think it's a wink and a nod, and I think it's very smart the way that they do it, but it's interpretive art what they're doing. Someone can absolutely just come away with a read depending on their level of humor and say this is just a straight up drama, not a dramedy. And HBO is so cornered the market on genre bending. Barry's another show that goes from serious, even though the base is comedy,
So good.
it goes from comedy to drama real quick.
But can't you see then how levels of depression will kick in when people just want, they don't want you to be James Gandolfini, they want you to be Tony. They don't want you to be David Schwimmer, they want you to be Ross from Friends. Like I could see how that would, I mean, that's it. If I ever meet David, I don't want to meet David. I want to meet Ross. I want to meet Chandler. That's who I want to meet.
Well, but you say that, and I would say that at Grateful Dead concerts, sometimes Stugotz wants to be left alone.
Well, yeah.
Stugotz, the character, wants to be left alone. What, I really need to give you a Jets take? I need to put on the costume and do the dance at a Dead concert. I got to give, hey, you, George R.R. Martin, take your tokens and shove them up your bleep. I don't want to talk to you about the Jets.
I was so excited to see him, and then I spent the rest of the weekend trying to avoid him because he just kept asking me for baseball takes. Just listen, I'm at a Dead concert. Leave me alone. Let me take my edibles. That's it.
So if Stugotz did a New Yorker style profile, which God bless whichever reporter would pitch that, and he lied the entire time, would he be accused of taking it too seriously that he then perpetuated his own character into this profile, or is that the real Stugotz? It kind of leaves your mind in a pretzel, right?
There are layers. There are inception layers to the Stugotz. To this day, I still don't know whether he did his everything that Stugotz says today is a lie day as a punishment, or it was just the day. I don't know.
You'll never know.
He is so deeply in character at all times winning that I don't know if we just decided during the middle of that show, this is the show where we're going to punish him as the lying show because he's simply lying all show. And if he tried to do it as an actor, it would probably be clumsier and worse. Better to just ride with this is one of those days where he's spending the whole thing lying. So we're going to go ahead and call it his punishment. Is that which one happened? Chris, do you still know? I still
Got
don't
away
know.
with it.
I still don't know what happened that day. Mike, you have to guess and be right. You have to guess and be right. The show that we did, Stugotz as his punishment, has to lie all show. You have to guess and be right. Did we invent that on the fly halfway through the show, or did he come in serving that punishment?
No, we invented it on the fly. It was the easiest show he ever did. We fed him all the lies.
Stugotz doesn't know when he's in character and when he's not.
I have no idea
Stugotz
anymore.
is Jeremy Strong.
Yeah.
Stugotz is in character deeply, and so deeply that the lies
It's
are
20 years now. I don't know if this is the real me, the fake me. I don't know who I am anymore.
You're the guy who throws away Joseph Goodman's book after we've talked to him for 20 minutes about his book and speaks for the audience when you say correctly, Goodman killed the show.
I mean,
It's why you always win.
should be Badman.
You're the... It should be Joseph Badman.
I love Joe. Oh, that's an outrage.